Are you still there? The golden age of crypto. Hello and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. My name is Matthew, and on the internet, I go by Blind Run. Wow, I used to do that way better. Today is episode 288 of the Crypto Mining Show. This channel has been here for well over a decade talking about cryptocurrency mining, and general tech. I appreciate everyone that's been on this journey with me. Today, well, I guess we have the new golden age of America with Trump, as they may say. And oddly enough, 2 days ago, Trump on his official Twitter account, his Truth Social account, etc., launched essentially a Solana token. And we're going to go over those today. Yes, typically this is a proof of work channel, but we have to talk about it. Other things we're going to be talking about today is going to be the Melania token. And we are also going to finally get into some proof of work talk, specifically the new Aleo miners coming out from Ice River and Gold Shell. We are going to be talking about general profitability for GPU mining, the possibility of Ravencoin going to basically Asic mining, and that is going to be looking at Tron Black's thoughts on that in particular, which is why I almost said Tron. We're also going to be talking about Blocx moving over to Autolycos V2 off of X11, so going the opposite direction of the talks of Aleo, and we're getting basically all the Asics getting kicked off the network. Heck yeah, there we go. We're also going to talk about the Quai network and some updates I need to do surrounding that, in particular claiming the testnet tokens and some drama that happened in that earlier in the week. This week, it was requested that I take a look at Lightchain. I know nothing about it, but we're going to live react to Lightchain and everything that basically it talks about. We're going to see if it looks like a good idea, so on and so forth. So that's the token review thing that we're going to do. That's a new segment for the show. We're also going to be taking a look at a new video from Modern Mining talking about GPU mining profits going down in 2025. And we're going to basically react to a new crypto mining content creator. If you have a video you'd like me to react to, let me know in the comment section, or of course you can tweet at me at Son of a Tech on Twitter, or X as it is now known. And then I have added a new segment called Rig Wars. And the way this one's going to work is down in the description below, you'll find a link for a submission form on Google Docs. You're going to head over there and submit your rig to be shown off in the live stream on Mondays and Wednesdays. And we will basically go over them. And then at the end of the month, we will put them all together and we'll vote on them. So that's basically how that's going to go. I'm pretty excited about that particular segment. We are going to stick with some previous segments that are needed, like mining software updates, whether it be LOL miner, BZ miner, SRB miner, Rigel miner, blah, 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 Team Red miner. They're few and far between, but I've been gone long enough that we have at least 4 different ones to review today, so it'll be a little lengthier than normal. We're also going to go over mining operating system updates, because these are getting really interesting as a lot of new Linux kernels are being launched, support for different GPUs, so on and so forth. And then at the end of all of this, we'll have some Q&A. So if you have any questions, pack them away and we will get to them in just a little bit. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some craziness with the official Trump meme token. So I actually saw this over on Twitter initially, and let me go pull that up. I thought I had that pulled up. Apparently I do not. So we need to go to the real Donald Trump, and we're going to talk about it. So essentially what we saw on Truth Social and then later on here on Twitter was this tweet or basically a retweet on his main account for an official Trump meme coin. And it says it's time to celebrate everything we stand for, winning. Join his special Trump community and get your Trump now. So you head on over to gettrumpmemes.com. This is pretty nuts. I don't know. I saw this popping and I was like, what the hell is going on? And essentially what you can see here is they have this all built out and the contract address is down here. It's a Solana contract address. Now, as you guys know, I'm a proof of work guy. I'm not a big fan of Solana or proof of stake, and Solana is one of the worst proof of stake options as far as centralization and so on. Very interesting to see him launch on there, especially considering all of the tokens that have basically been rug pulled and so forth on that particular platform and the means in which he went ahead and did it. But if we wanted to look at it even more, they do have allocation here, which you can take a look at. And I gotta say, initial reactions to this, like if I saw this essentially from any other account, I would immediately think, well, this is going to get rug pulled. This is kind of scammy. I don't trust it. And that's because you do have a massive amount of pre-allocation to a lot of different people. So you have 36% to creators, you have 18% to the creators in CIC Digital, whatever those are, and 18% to CIC Digital number 3. It has 10% for liquidity, 10% for public distribution, and then even some more for different groups. So you got 4% for more CIC Digital, and then another 2%, and then another 2%. So a lot of stuff locked up, and they did put all of their unlocked durations. And right now you can see the lockup durations for the shortest term on the 36%, which is the largest, is going to be 3 months, and then an unlocked duration of 24 months. And then that kind of goes up from there all the way up to 12 months or a year at the end of the day. This is pretty nuts, but I'm going to give you some. So first of all, I'm going to say, if you see these tokenomics in any other project, you probably want to stay away in general because you could end up losing a lot of crypto. This is pretty nuts. I keep saying nuts because it's nuts. This is currently now, as of today, the sitting US president with a meme token on Solana. And I don't know if you guys have had that sink in yet, but I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm going to have a controversial opinion here. So I personally am a proof of work guy. Solana is not a proof of work blockchain. It's a proof of stake blockchain. The difference is that a proof of work blockchain has some intrinsic value basically through the energy it costs to produce that particular coin or token. So in the case of Bitcoin, you have a cost to mint that's directly related to a real world asset of energy, right? And that is where you can get at least a base level power. And this is why you can see what's known as the halving cycle, where every 4 years when Bitcoin halves, the cost to mint Bitcoin goes up for energy, and therefore also directly correlates to the price of the Bitcoin going up, because essentially miners have to get paid for that. So you have that baseline value, or some people would say like an intrinsic value. Others would argue, of course, even proof of work doesn't have any intrinsic value. I'll leave that up to you. I argue it does, because you are based off of a real world asset of energy to produce that particular product. In the case of proof of stake, the energy consumption is a lot lower because all you have to have is basically a Raspberry Pi to stake in a node, or in a lot of cases, Like, you don't even personally have to have that. And so all the value comes from essentially selling for more to the next guy than you bought it for, right? And then you do have, of course, basically fees off of those that are going back and forth. There's different forms of proof of stake, but at the very base level, that's really all you need to understand as to why I'm typically against proof of stake over proof of work as a baseline. That being said, also tokens pose an increased risk due to the fact that you are in a position where you can create tokens easier and sell them and trade them easier. So barrier to entry is directly proportional to how quickly one could basically get a turnaround on sales. In this particular case, we are on the Solana blockchain. It can happen extremely quickly. But I will say this, we have a couple things happening right now in the blockchain space as it pertains to regulation. One being Gary Gensler getting pushed out of the SEC, which is going to, and basically a crypto-friendly replacement, presumably. And then we have the President of the United States releasing something that at the end of the day would be heavily regulated. And it's going to be interesting how those regulations are adjusted. There are going to be a lot of people that say, well, you need regulation within cryptocurrency. And I tend to disagree with that. I understand people can get hurt and lose a lot of money, etc. And regulation is supposed to solve for that. But I think that personal responsibility is more important. Personal responsibility and your freedom is more important than your security. So that's how I lean towards it. I think there are very clear-cut cases where, you know, you could say this is completely illegal. Obviously, straight up theft would be completely illegal, that sort of thing. What this kind of speaks to me as is a lightening of regulation in the crypto space as a whole. And so I count that as a net positive because more freedoms surrounding the crypto space will help with innovation. Now, that does mean, since we have that example here, that you run a much higher risk of having bad projects being invested in bad things and losing a lot of money. So play all of these at your own risk. I have done a guide on this. The reason I did a guide on how to purchase and swap and utilize these platforms is because I realized within our particular space, we're getting to the point of the proof of work guys are turning into, at least the way I see it, the boomers of crypto, right? And that can be a good thing and a bad thing. One, we remember the ethos of crypto and the Bitcoin white paper, and that's a good thing to educate the younger crowds on. But in addition to that, we aren't necessarily fully up to date on how to utilize different platforms, how to go through contract addresses, even the differences between a coin and a token for the best, well, basically the best way I can explain that. So I have done videos on that in the past, but I think it was a good little walkthrough. And that brings me to the second part of this, where I see positive coming out. And I bet we're going to get some, you know, pushback, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And I see a lot of negative opinions surrounding these particular launches, especially from the proof of work community. And I fully understand why, but stick with me. One of the big things that's going to happen thanks to this is a ton of liquidity being added to the cryptocurrency ecosystem. And that means that over time, that will spread out across the entire ecosystem as people start playing with different projects, learning more about cryptocurrency, and so on and so forth. So it's actually our job to explain to them things like proof of work versus proof of stake and why it has some sort of base level value. You know, it's important to explain like this, the safety and security of, you know, securing your wallets. There are a lot of things that you can take this opportunity to teach people about cryptocurrency. and it's bringing a lot more people into the space in general. And that brings me to my third point, because a lot of people are obviously calling this a rug and so on and so forth. I don't see this as a planned rug. We're talking about the sitting president of the United States. I don't think we know the personality of Trump in this particular setup, and he is, somebody that cares a lot about what people think about him. In fact, what I have seen from people talking about this project in particular, and obviously it's kind of waned a little bit today, but we've been seeing the Trump campaign, or whoever it is that started this token, buying up a lot of the supply when it dips. And that's a really interesting factor here that I think people aren't taking into account. It could be a complete rug pull in 3 years. I would definitely say start watching out in 3 years, right? When everything unlocks and he's about to be out of his presidency. Maybe we have a crazy rug pull from the sitting president of the United States, and he pieces out, pardons himself, and pardons his family, and pulls out, and then everything's just destroyed. That could be a possibility. Do I think that's likely? No, because I think that desire to be liked will still be there, regardless if he's a sitting president or not. I could be wrong, but I just don't see this as bad as people are perceiving it to be, or the talks that people are having surrounding it. Once again, let me clarify. It's on a proof of stake chain, which is, in my opinion, not good. The tokenomics are really bad and should have you worried a little bit if you were to see this in anything else, with the amount of supply that is going basically to developers or the Trump insiders, that sort of thing. Whoever the insiders are, that is something to pay attention to. So moving on from there, though, we basically, right after that, the day after, if you go back to Donald Trump's official Twitter post, and you see that Melania posts a meme token as well with the contract address at melaniameme.com. So now the first lady has a token, which is like, you thought it was crazy that they released one. Well, they're releasing two, and maybe it'll be 3 or 4 or 5. It's getting to the point of ridiculous. I do agree. It seems a little ridiculous, but at the same time, the amount of attention that this draws, I think, is a net positive overall to the space, because people will at least look and say, hey, what is going on? What is actually happening here? And then obviously regulations as far as that's concerned too. Now, both of these websites have been stood up like immediately, right? And that is within like a day of the launch of the token. It was a very fast, hard, and loose type deal. You can see here that the token distribution is actually pushed out a little bit different. I honestly thought that we were seeing or witnessing hacks at a certain point, and that we were going to get a report that, all of these were essentially just posts from some token dev that was going to rug pull everyone right before the inauguration, and then that was going to be it and done. But apparently that's not the case, because as you can see on and maybe it will be, maybe they haven't caught it because they're so busy, and this has been one of the greatest gotchas of all time, which is like somebody hacked in, knew they were going to be busy and not paying attention to their Twitter account, and posted contract addresses. Maybe, I don't think so, because we've seen even references from Eric Trump on this and so on and so forth. But as you can see, like, this is also streaming the inauguration, and all of the victory rally and all that stuff is being streamed to this official account right now. So somebody that runs the Twitter account has to be aware of the post that's right below these, right? It goes, It goes victory rally. It goes presidential parade. It goes 60th presidential inauguration ceremony. And then boom, Solana token. It seems to me as if, this would be spotted right away. But keep that in mind. I guess there is always these potentials, right? This is nuts. This is crazy. So the token distribution, once again, if I saw this in any other space, I would be like, watch out. Now, why do I say watch out? So everybody that's coming into this basically wanting to know what a proof of work guy thinks about the Trump and Melania meme tokens, right? And you want to know why we think it's bad, what's wrong specifically with the tokenomics. When you see tokenomics like this, it means that the developers control a majority of the token distribution, which means that the actual liquidity in the current market while you're buying is not the actual total liquidity when it unlocks, and they can basically do what's called dumping, which is selling all of those tokens onto the network at one time, basically pulling the rug, the proverbial rug, out from under everyone and leaving everybody that invested in it with zero. If we look at cryptocurrency as a whole and the ethos behind a lot of it, what we usually look for are things that are called fair launches. And there are, to be fair, a lot of different definitions of fair launches, right? Fair launch could mean that you airdrop all the tokens to, basically random addresses. We've heard of that with tokens, right? You could basically set all of them to be minted and allow everybody to mint at the same time. This is powered by Radiant now, which is a really cool thing. Or in the case of cryptocurrency, right, like an actual blockchain like Bitcoin, it's launched into the public on the same day for mainnet, and there's no pre-mine essentially, and you have two people, or basically everybody can begin mining it at the same time. It's fair for everybody to start participating at the same time. There's nothing that could happen there as far as getting sold out. So that's why these types of tokenomics are looked at negatively. And this one is pretty much the same thing, except that we have, I believe, a shorter time of vesting with a year on the months here. Full vesting in a year in 1 month at 13 months. So this one could, in theory, I suppose, dump faster than the Trump token. That is completely possible. And then the terms and conditions are here. They're interesting. They seem pretty basic as far as what you would see in any other terms of service surrounding these things, how they will apply legally, and so on. If you take a look here, this will be really interesting to see, what the regulatory stance surrounding all this is. Now, if this was not done by the First Lady, without the knowledge of the First Lady and the President, then it's going to be a really bad time, vice versa, for cryptocurrency and regulation. So keep that in mind. That could happen. But I think overall, net positive, bringing a lot of attention. The other reason I don't necessarily think that we are witnessing something that is not directly from Trump and, of course, the First Lady, Melania, is because we've seen massive listings for this on Crypto.com, Coinbase, Binance, all the large exchanges. I mean, we have Crypto.com sponsoring the UFC with Dana White, basically being their massive, one of their largest partners, also being in Trump's kind of Trump's little gang, I suppose you could say. So I think it's probably the case to where they are fully aware of this for all of those reasons. I mean, you even know that Crypto.com is out there right now. I was seeing pictures, out with Crypto.com and their crew participating in all the festivities for the inauguration today. So that is also happening. I'm sure they're talking about this as we talk about it right now. I expect a lot of people will watch this later. A lot of people are probably even live watching the Trump festivities as we speak. Maybe there'll be a lull. But now we're just waiting on all the rumors and the rest of the tokens to launch. And it's going to take some time, I think, to really realize how much of an impact this is going to have, how positive or negative it will be. I'd like to hear your thoughts, of course, in the comment section and the live chat. Do you think this is a net positive or a net negative? So we'll do a poll here. The Trump meme a positive. Boom. And we'll start the poll there so we can see what everybody's thinking as far as that is concerned. If we move on from this, you can take a look at, I wanted to talk about this real quick because what you're about to see is essentially probably a lot more of these. And there is the possibility of doing extremely well if you get in extremely early, right? If you were able to find the contract address within minutes of them tweeting them, and then you were able to trade and actually get some in your wallet. I mean, the fact of the matter is you can get in before the dumps begin, right? At the end of the day, the thing is you're also, it's a PvP game, right? We're playing a PvP game here. You know, if somebody buys a crap ton of it at sub penny and then you get in at $3, that sub penny guy is probably already out and a millionaire. And that's what happens in these cases. It doesn't mean that the devs or the team is doing anything. You can even see the big drop here recently. I think it's at $35. But, you know, there were people in here getting it, you know, if you got in at $8 or whatever it is, you're way up as it is. So that is this game. It's gambling and it's getting in early. I would give you a tip on getting in early on these things. A lot of the times the Solana network gets congested. So utilizing either Phantom Wallet to do your swaps or utilizing a platform like Jupiter to do your swaps will fail, and they'll fail so often and so much. And look, we're watching this dip right here. You'll fail so often and so much that essentially you end up in a position where your buy-in price is extremely high. So if you want to get in when these are actually launched, that would be the only time that I would say, you know, maybe throw a gamble at it and put 0.1 in, right? And grab whatever you can if you want. That could be it, but don't put anything more in that you don't want to lose. And the big key here is you do have to use like some sort of centralized platform. I use ape.pro. And the reason I utilize ape.pro in particular is because it is from Jupiter and it has basically a little bit more notoriety surrounding it. You'll be able to swap within ape.pro. You can still send that back out to your address. I went over that guide, but this is the only way I was able to get anything below, you know, a couple dollars for Melania and Trump when they launched, was using a platform like this. Some people were asking me. I like to teach people stuff. So this is something, you know, it's a tool you can utilize. Be extremely careful with it. And as you can see, like you could buy right now and then lose a bunch of money, and then you could buy right now and make a bunch of money right away. It's going to be all over the place. And make sure also, if you're going to do this and it's like an official account like this, that you actually just find the contract address, you know, and copy that real address out from an official account. So then you can just paste it into the search and get the actual token, right? That's an important thing to note if you're looking at any of these. Do I suggest you go buy Melania and Trump right now? No, I always say mine it, don't buy it. If you want to swap over something you've mined to be risky with it at the end of the day, That's on you. That's you know, that's up to you. So I think we're about split, which is what I thought. I thought this topic would be extremely controversial. And we're about split on, is this a net positive for crypto? And we have 50% saying yes and 50% saying no. Please keep it nice in your discussions between each other. There's no reason to attack each other. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I think there's also going to be a ton of bias when we talk about these things. Why? Well, because there are going to be people that did get in at 18 cents or whatever and then became a millionaire, and they're going to see this as a positive because that's what their brain says. And then there's others that are going to lose a shit ton of transaction fees because they don't know what they're doing, which is a big problem here as well, and why we need to educate people on this, even if we don't do it ourselves, right? Still need to educate people on you know, slippage and fees and network congestion and what tools to use and all that sort of thing, because they can get in, you can get into a position, you know, we saw it on Caspa with the launch of the tokens where people just lost a bunch of Caspa just trying to swap out. That's happened on Solana plenty of times. Ethereum, obviously the biggest offender of bad fees for a lot of people. So I think that's really the net of it at the end of the day is it's going to be an education opportunity, and you can we can educate on seed phrases, all that sort of stuff, what the difference between a centralized and a non-centralized platform are, what, you know, a decentralized exchange is versus a centralized exchange. All of these things are opportunities to teach a wider audience that maybe just likes Trump and wants to learn about cryptocurrency. So there you go. That is my 2 cents on it. And I think we're leaning a little bit more towards no now at 54%. So we'll see. We'll come back to that at the end of the show and take a look at it. Now, this is why I do have proof. So a lot of people, you know, might say in this particular case that it's not true. It's not going to bring more people into cryptocurrency. Well, the first case is if we look at Google Analytics. Google searches for how to buy crypto skyrocket as Trump flips the Overton window. So Google data has shown a peak in retail interest in cryptocurrencies as the market gears up for Trump's inauguration speech. And this is obviously following the token. And this is what I'm talking about. The actual interest in cryptocurrency as a whole increases, thereby essentially increasing the viability of crypto, the amount of liquidity in crypto, how many people are putting money into crypto. I think this does relate to an overall ship rising scenario. Like Bitsby Trippin likes to say, a rising tide raises all ships, and that's how I see it. It just is an actual verifiable fact that it is increasing the interest in cryptocurrency, which is, in my opinion, a positive thing. So it says the crypto craze is sweeping the general public as observers said President-elect Donald Trump's decision to debut a meme coin has flipped the Overton window, bringing digital assets to the mainstream. Google Trends, a widely used tool to gauge general or retail interest in trending topics, is currently returning a value of 100 for the worldwide search query, how to buy crypto. This is a good thing. The final figure for the week will be confirmed Saturday. A score of 100 represents peak popularity, the maximum number of searches observed for the query during a given time frame, in this case 5 years. It's a sign that more and more people are scanning the web for information on how to take exposure to cryptocurrencies. Google Trends provides access to a primarily unfiltered sample of search requests made to Google and scales their searches on a range of 0 to 100. According to the company, the search value represents the search interest relative to the highest point on the chart for the selected region and time. And you can see here, if we go back, in the 2021 phase, we're meeting that again. And you can see here, it's eerily similar. Look at the interest here in cryptocurrency, maybe like 2020. And the interest here riding up to this, and then the big spike. This does indicate to me that we are hitting the bull run. Now, you might not realize it yet, and we're also going to talk about, is the bull run hitting proof of work coins? Because that's going to be relative here. But we are hitting the very start of the bull run. That's what it looks like to me based off of retail interest. So we are going to obviously talk about the excitement is surrounding Donald Trump. And according to some analysts, Trump's decision to debut his meme coin has flipped the Overton window, meaning what was once considered a fringe has now entered the mainstream. We are on the precipice of a golden age of crypto. Another bull run, and everything is stirring back up. We could always also fight and say, well, I don't like it done this way. I don't like that they're doing it this way, and so on and so forth. And I've done that my whole life, and I understand that perspective, and I get it. But it would be silly to not see the reality of what's happening here at the end of the day, which is a huge push in the interest in crypto, and one step closer to somebody learning more about proof of work, learning more about crypto as a whole, and learning more about why it's important that you have a decentralized cryptocurrency. And they will probably start learning lessons from Solana too. Let's say you're brand new and you hear, well, I need to get a hardware wallet to hold my Trump token, right? And you go and you buy a hardware wallet, you go through the whole process of setting it up. You're on crypto.com, you figure out how to send it, you go to send it, and it says the Solana network is down. Well, why is the Solana network down? Congestion. Why are all these things happening? And then they'll start to do that research and eventually find all of the different arguments in favor of and against, of course, proof of stake and proof of work. And the more that it is proven out that you have a more reliable network, whatever that may be, and whatever ends up taking hold later on, that will happen. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. I do want to give you guys a quote here. It says from the CTO of Coinbase, Brian. Oh, it's not Brian. Sorry. CTO. There we go. It says, quote, if everything is now legal, many startups will try raising funds by issuing tokens as explicit crypto equity. As a context, the SEC distorted the market for the last decade by forcing founders to obscure the obvious analogy between tokens and equity. But there's nothing morally wrong with moving equity from spreadsheets and NASDAQs to blockchains. And that could be something that we do begin to see, blockchain verifiable stocks, pushing us out of centralized options like Robinhood into something in a decentralized manner that we can trade and buy and sell stocks with a lot less regulation and open up 24/7. Can you imagine if that gets implemented in just the impact of a 24/7 verifiable blockchain for the stock market? It would be absolutely epic and a really good path to go on. Just to give you guys an idea, the Overton window is a theory for understanding how societal ideas change over time and influence politics. It represents the range of subjects and arguments politically acceptable to the mainstream population at a given time. Pseudonymous analyst Trevor.btc said that Trump's meme coin move has set the stage for crypto deregulation in the US. And quote, the Trump meme coin just ripped the Band-Aid off and shifted the Overton window for crypto deregulation in the US. Now's the time to look towards areas of crypto hampered by regulation and shoot first, ask questions later. So I'll tell you guys a little something. I've hired my editor back, and this is my editor from the previous bull run. A huge reason that I had to get rid of the editor was essentially the loss of sponsorships, right? And I wasn't working full time. And secondary to that was that YouTube heavily regulated cryptocurrency ad revenue. Now, we've always had problem with cryptocurrency ads because it can trick people into buying things that are not good for them and so on and so forth. But because of that regulation, a lot of crypto YouTube channels and crypto mining YouTube channels struggled over the past couple of years. And to just fully remove all of them and not provide any sort of ad revenue for cryptocurrency channels was a big hit to the industry as a whole. And a lot of the reason why the talk of cryptocurrency was heavily suppressed, just from the loss of being able to financially sustain yourself as a creator. Some people had the option, of course, like myself, of getting a day job. Some people ended up taking bigger sponsorships from different cryptocurrency companies. Some people ran off of affiliates for ASIC miners and so on. Everybody handled it in different ways, but it was a big impact. And what that did obviously was reduce the amount of visibility as a whole that crypto has. A lot of the cryptocurrency channels got a reduction in the amount of push that they had towards their bit larger audiences as well. And so one of the things that deregulation can do is bring back the opportunity for creators to make content and be successful with it and be able to give you more information surrounding cryptocurrency. So I see it as a net positive. I have hired my editor back. He's going to be taking care of all the editing. I'm going to continue to work because that health insurance is so good and so needed, and I enjoy my job. So there's that, but there's a little of a background on that for you. Now, the other positive that's already come out of it, obviously, like we talked about earlier, and we don't have to go too deep into it, but Gary Gensler's gone. So we're already seeing actual backed up proof that we are seeing this Overton window shift. We're seeing, things being put into place that hints at deregulation. So it says passing the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act into law would establish a responsible new regulatory framework that clearly defines the role of the SEC and the CFTC, says Representative Mike Lawler, a member of the House Financial Services Committee. So on January 20th, which is today, essentially, what does it say? The U.S. financial sector will be celebrating the resignation of Joe Biden's Security and Exchange Commission Chair, Gary Gensler. As a member of the House Financial Services Committee, I am well aware of Gensler's heavy-handed approach in stifling innovation and shackling the American economy's engine. His punitive stance was particularly damaging in the burgeoning field of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Under Gary's leadership, the SEC's enforcement-focused agenda frequently did more harm than good, and regulatory uncertainty was used to attack American crypto exchanges like Bittrex, Kraken, and Coinbase, with Bittrex explicitly citing the effects of Gensler's approach when it exited the U.S. market. And this is actually an extremely good point, is all of that regulation, whether it be applied through suppressing of crypto content on YouTube, the removal of ads, to whatever it may be, a lot of that was around the uncertainty. So even if we look at this as not full deregulation, but actual regulation being put into place where it's a clear-cut line of what you have to do and not have to do to participate within the industry, will be a net positive. And I do think that is on the way. It does go on to say that last year, who was this for again? I forgot. I was going to read this and I forgot who it was. Anyways, we'll go on down to, what was the other section? I lost all my notes on this. Anyways, so Here's the big question. If you guys recall, back when Trump was in office previously, he was not crypto friendly. In fact, I'm kind of a single issue voter, so I was pretty much against his policies surrounding it. That has shifted. And that is mentioned here during his first administration. President Trump's SEC worked collaboratively with crypto industry to enforce securities laws without alienating innovators. So that is saying previously, at least it wasn't alienating them, and offering clear guidance through landmark initiatives like the DAO report and the framework for investment contract analysis of digital assets. Beyond the Biden administration's hostility to crypto, Chuck Schumer and Democrats in the Senate refused to consider FIT 21 after it passed the House with overwhelming bipartisan support. Moreover, in New York, the courts thwarted Governor Hochul's attempt to shutter Bitcoin miners by deploying the state's radical climate law. And this is where I heard some stuff today during the inauguration, all the events that I was very positive on. A lot of people said, well, there was no mention of crypto, etc. But there was something that was stated that is extremely important for us Bitcoin miners. Trump did say he is going to basically reduce energy costs across the board. And I think, and reduce regulations surrounding the production of energy, which means we will be getting cheaper energy, which means we can mine more, which means we can have a viable cryptocurrency mining business in the near future. And that was one of the big positives. We'll have to see what regulations get put into place in particular, but I am very, very excited for that in particular, which is the reduction of energy. As I've always said, the concept is a society's success is directly correlated with the amount of energy they can efficiently use. And obviously, Bitcoin mining offers a huge efficiency bump in energy production and usage because you have options to do things like curtailment so that when the actual grid needs more load, the Bitcoin miners can turn down, provide that load, and then suck it back up and remain financially viable. And this is all very important stuff. It does go in conclusion, say with President Trump's appointment of Paul Atkins as the next SEC chair, we can expect a more thoughtful and transparent approach to governance and policies that encourage innovation while safeguarding investors, setting the stage for the cryptocurrency and blockchain sector to thrive and the creation of high-paying new American jobs. We will be able to move beyond the opportunities missed during the Biden administration and build a framework that positions the U.S. as a leader in the global digital economy. I gotta say, boys, I am bullish. I am very bullish. I do think the Trump and Melania meme tokens are basically resulting in a positive effect on cryptocurrency. And I think that we are basically at the very start of the next bull run, almost right on time, basically right on time, right? It's supposed to be like the end of 2025. Good days, good days. Now, we do have a problem happening within proof of work. We have to talk about it. Within proof of work, we have had an increasingly popular strategy of releasing a proof of work blockchain and it being mineable with CPUs, then of course GPUs, and then finally Asics. The thing is that it's kind of turned into a shovel selling scheme that has been run through on multiple projects. Here throughout the bear market, the most successful project of those was Caspa, and then a lot of others followed suit. You ended up having essentially a lithium come out, be GPU mineable, get converted to ASICs, sell the ASICs while they look like they're making a lot of money, and then after that, the price dumps because everybody's trying to get their ROI before everybody else. And then, of course, we had that happen on Radiant, which actually never saw the price pump because I think people also, to be completely frank, I think people are getting tired of the churn and burn of ASIC miners. And now we have it happening to Aleo. For those not familiar, Aleo was the most profitable GPU mineable coin up until the past week when we saw the launch of the Aleo miners from Ice River and Gold Shell. Ice River launched the Aleo AE0 with 50 mega hash a second at 100 watts. And currently that would make $31.71 a day. However, a lot of people don't quite have these yet. For those that are not in the know, the ASIC mining game is kind of like this. Somebody develops an ASIC and then they test them, because you have to test the equipment. And so they mine it while they're testing it. And after that, they basically make sure they don't mine it so much that you don't see the price drop, of course, because difficulty will go up. Anytime you add hash rate to a network, the difficulty, which is how hard it is to find a block, increases. And so it's a very fine game of, if you are an ASIC manufacturer, of not putting your whole load onto the network so that it's not fully representative of what the actual profitability of the miner will be once you ship them. But they go ahead and test them, then they ship them, they ship out large batches, everybody gets their miners, puts them onto the network, and immediately the profitability goes down. We've seen this time and time again, even with Caspa. We've seen it with everything from Lithium to Caspa to Radiant and so on and so forth. Now, a lot of people say, well, why are ASICs on Bitcoin okay? Well, Bitcoin had a much slower time to ASICs, right? Because it was the first cryptocurrency. So it wasn't like you launched a coin, it was GPU mineable for a week, and then an ASIC and the FPGA came out, which for those that are not in the know is a field programmable gate array, which is customizable hardware. It's a little bit more expensive than a GPU, but effectively it still has a pretty closed ecosystem due to the type of software that you need to run to mine it with. And then eventually it goes on to ASICs, but now it's happening week to week to week to week. And then you end up in a position where everybody that was mining it previously on GPUs goes ahead and exits the market, right? Because, well, if they're not mining it, why would they continue to hold it? So you have a reduction in the amount of participants. And then you have everybody that's getting the new units coming online, trying to get their investment back as fast as possible before everybody else does. And that simultaneously increases the difficulty and then suppresses the price. So it's harder to get the actual coin. And then the price of that coin, meanwhile, is also going down, because as soon as people get paid out with their miners, they sell it. And that is kind of what's been going on here in the trends surrounding cryptocurrency for quite some time. It was even compounded by the entity, which you can check out my video on that case in particular, which was a manufacturer that was mining cryptocurrency without anybody knowing who they were. And they captured an entire network, Radiant, and they were taking all the block rewards for themselves. And then finally, they released the miners. And just as you would presume, as soon as those miners are shipped out, the suppression of the price of Radiant skyrocketed, because now they have no incentive after they've sold all their miners to hold any of the cryptocurrency that they made the miners for. Unless, of course, they were planning on making another miner, which ended up currently not being the case, at least best I can tell on the Radiant side of things. So it was very damaging to the Radiant network, unfortunately. And it's been damaging to a lot of proof of work cryptocurrencies, unfortunately. And that is kind of what's been going on, which brought me to the discussion of Ravencoin. Look, here's the deal. Let's move on to Ravencoin. Let's talk about it. There's been a lot of rumors surrounding Bitmain creating ASICs for Ravencoin. For those not in the know, Ravencoin was a cryptocurrency that was released way back in 2017. And it was released with an algorithm called X16VR, which essentially rotated 16 different algorithms to prevent ASICs being developed for them. Eventually, it moved on to be developed into a second version of that original algorithm, and then it was converted into another algorithm called ProgPow, which was basically a collaboration of a lot of different people that had done a lot for ETH mining, like the Largemint Pill and so on. A user that goes by Oh God, a Girl had also worked on it, a few other developers. That whole crew released ProgPal, which of course, because it has that ProgPal, progressive proof of work, you can kind of adapt it to any chain that you want. And that's why you see a lot of things like KuPal, which is basically ProgPal for Ravencoin. And then you have a bunch of other ones too. It's still effectively the same algorithm, right? It's just the name change for whatever the developer wants to have congruent in the naming scheme of their particular cryptocurrency. And ProgPal is meant to be ASIC resistant. And this is where we run into a big problem, because when we're talking about ASIC development for Ravencoin in particular, the issue is not, is it okay for Ravencoin to go to Asics? It's, is it okay for the entire market of ASIC resistant cryptocurrencies currently out to be vulnerable to these Asics? Because we're not talking about it being able to only mine Ravencoin. It'll eventually be able to mine all of them, just with a little bit of changes in naming and so on and so forth. This would be a massive blow to GPU mining as a whole, because if we just scroll through essentially all of the cryptocurrencies that are currently available, you'll start to notice that a lot of the small ones are on some form of ProgPal. And so you end up in a very sketchy situation. I also don't think it would be a good move for Ravencoin, but Tron Black, who obviously Ravencoin's his baby, doesn't seem to necessarily agree with me. It doesn't seem like I would say that they're totally for it, but not against it. Now, this is the kind of language I want to say here. I've read this type of language from every single developer in relation to ASICs coming onto the network. I have heard this from Caspa. I have heard this from Radiant. I have heard this from Alephium. And at the end of the day, the argument is that it doesn't matter what I think, as the decision would be up to the community, miners, and the economic actors, exchanges and shops, whether any anti-ASIC changes are adopted. And this is, like I said, I kind of have a problem with these types of statements because, one, it absolves any accountability for the situation in particular, and two, it's kind of basically it's a cop-out, right? It's like not rocking the boat either way. And I think that it's very odd coming from, a white paper that basically, was a big proponent of ASIC resistance for distribution. Do I think it would affect Ravencoin in particular negatively, like it did, Radiant, Alephium, one of these newer proof of work currencies? No, because a lot more is in circulation. So I think Ravencoin would probably have the most benefit out of any of those from ASICs coming onto the network, because you already have a ton of distribution out there, right? But it's the wider, broader cryptocurrency economy that I think would have a very negative impact from it in general. Now, this topic, it hasn't just been talked about here recently. This has been talked about since the inception of Ravencoin. And Tron actually did release a Medium article talking about this in more depth back in 2019. And I think this is important for everybody to read so they understand his thoughts, and hopefully it sums up a lot of why this discussion is being had in general. In January of 2018, the white paper for X16R was published with the suggestion that it was an ASIC resistant algorithm. It has been about a year and a half, and although the hash rate and profitability do not suggest there are ASICs on the Ravencoin network, there is some evidence that there might be an ASIC unit being built or possibly deployed. Remember that old crappy video? Some of y'all might, if you've been around, of the ASIC that was presumed to be mining Ravencoin or X16R. Pretty funny, but it's not, that never panned out. Anyways, he said that I've been told privately that Fusion Silicon tried to create an ASIC and gave up. There's also a paper suggesting that one mining pool has a high hash rate. So what now? Well, here are some of my thoughts. Yes, I know you didn't ask for my thoughts. An ASIC isn't evil, but as I stated in the original white paper, quote, the unfortunate side effect of this transition to ASIC hardware is the centralization of the mining. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, if you are GPU mineable, GPUs are generally available to the consumer, which means that you have a wider distribution of them, which means more people have access to them, which means more IPs are mining a cryptocurrency, and you distribute the supply across basic consumers. Now, even this has its flaws, okay? I'm not going to sit here and tell you GPU mining or CPU mining is the perfect way, because we've seen them break down before, like ASRock building the BC250s to mine Ethereum and selling them directly to farms for $15,000 a case. And now you can buy them for $400 a case. So I guess that didn't play out well in the long run, but they essentially, that was like targeted to large farms, which you could centralize underneath that farm. NVIDIA selling crypto mining cards with their CMP line, once again, directly to large farms and not giving general consumer access. These problems arise in any industry, and that happens with any economy of scale. You're going to have people that want to make larger purchases than a general consumer can purchase, and they are going to suck it all up as fast as they can. And this has been a problem. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a meme coin on Solana, or we're talking about an ASIC miner from Bitmain or a GPU from NVIDIA. If somebody has the opportunity to suck up a majority of the supply of anything, then they are going to do it, because we are playing an economies of scale game. And the more you have, the more you'll make. And that is essentially, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which one we're talking about, what the game we are playing is. The thing about mining in particular is that, and especially GPU mining, is you begin to reduce the ability of people to participate at a larger scale than the average consumer. And that is ultimately the goal, to increase the distribution overall across as many people as you possibly can, so that not only do you have a lot of people participating, which generates fees on the network, but you have basically a lot of people that will hold the price up. And this is just common sense things that's happened for a long time. ASICs in particular have a very negative perception because of the amount of companies that were building units at the very beginning, especially back in 2017 when Ravencoin was launched. You essentially had one ASIC manufacturer available at that time, with Bitmain and maybe WhatsMiner coming along behind them. And then eventually, of course, there was Gold Shell and some stuff like that on the smaller consumer available products. But you essentially had a single manufacturer. And if you have a single manufacturer, a manufacturer is going to want to dump as many units as they possibly can as quickly as possible, right? To make money, the strategy for them is to sell all the units that they have available as quickly as possible. That's why you have, distributors for GPUs, right? NVIDIA wants to sell big bulks. They don't want to sit there selling a single card to a single individual over and over and over again. And Bitmain's no different. So if they have a large miner that wants to buy a majority of their bulk, then they will sell to that one large miner. And if that one large miner buys something like a brand new coin ASIC, something like Aleo, they can control the entire network. And the reason why this is important, right? If you have a single miner that has a majority of the hash rate, it means they have control over the voting process for that particular project. and so on. And there's a lot of vulnerabilities that used to pop up. I've talked about them all before. We could talk about 51% attack and all of those things, double spending. All of that can be done if there's too much hash rate under control from one individual. Now, that one individual that's made that big investment, could say, wouldn't want to see the project fail, which was the argument in the case of Radiant. However, it's not the single individual that you have to worry about, but the people that have the knowledge to compromise that single individual to take over the hash power, right? So if somebody knows that there's a single miner mining a cryptocurrency and has a majority of the hash rate and wants to execute a double spend attack, they just need to find a vulnerability via, you know, whatever social means or even vulnerabilities in network security, whatever it is, find that vulnerability and then execute that attack. It does, and it's easier for them to execute it because they don't have to go through the pain of, moving it back and forth. This is why distribution on pools is important too, because it's not the pool that's going to negatively impact something that they're making money off of. It would be a bad actor getting control of that pool. All right. So those are kind of the reasons behind it. And like I said, at that time, it was a very high likelihood that you were going to have a single manufacturer and then maybe a single person wanting to take over an entire blockchain. There are a lot more manufacturers within the ASIC space now. There are consumer grade available ASICs and so on. The hard part is, of course, the market directly drives the price of the ASICs. ASICs don't have regulation in their pricing. GPUs do, and that is a big difference as well that a lot of people don't realize. GPUs do have some sort of baseline regulations where the manufacturer themselves can't increase the cost of the GPU necessarily as much as, say, like Bitmain can, right? And that's why, yes, scalpers will buy it and drive the price of the GPUs up, but people would get on lists at Best Buy and so on to essentially buy them at the retail price. And that was still a possibility when it came to GPU mining in particular. Let's go ahead and get back to this though, because we need to go over all of this. So this made even truer by the fact, remember, we're talking about centralization with ASICs, that we've suggested we don't want ASICs on the Ravencoin network, so they will likely be running on a hidden pool and not be sold to everyone. An ASIC is just a chip that is optimized for one specific purpose. This is right in the ASIC name, as it stands for Application Specific Integrated Circuit. The specific application is mining with a particular algorithm like X16R, and an integrated circuit is a microchip. ASICs can be faster because they do one thing very well and can ignore everything else. An analogy is an Olympic marathon runner whose body composition is built for speed and distance versus a decathlon athlete that might be built differently to be able to do pretty well on 10 different athletic skills. The marathon runner might not be able to shot put very well because the light, lean frame needed to win a marathon isn't well suited for shot put. Those types of trade-offs exist when making a fast mining chip. Therefore, a mining algorithm that forces a chip to do many varied tasks is considered ASIC resistant, and this runs on a continuum. So what if you combined marathon running with weightlifting with Sudoku involved or solving? It gets harder to optimize for one without sacrificing something for the other tasks. The muscle-bound weightlifter has trouble quickly running 26.2 miles, while the light marathon frame has trouble lifting hundreds of pounds. Throw in the additional uncorrelated task of solving Sudoku, and a custom athlete is trickier to find build. And this is the point that a lot of ASIC proponents will, of course, talk about too, is if you are, a specific chip designed to do one thing, you can become more efficient at that thing, and better efficiency is typically considered good, at least in the world of the Biden administration. But come on, coal train with Trump. Obviously a joke, but sort of not. All right, so let's see. I think I got this messed up. There we go. Okay. So that is the premise of ASIC hard algos. There are several of these. RandomX, a leading candidate for the next Monero hard fork, CryptoNight R, and these are old, right? And ProgPal, which is what it eventually went to, which was designed to favor GPUs over ASICs. Is centralization bad? He said, I would argue yes, in the context of a cryptocurrency. You do not want centralization. If a government or small collection of governments can shut down the mining or request that certain transactions not be allowed, then a lot of the benefits of a cryptocurrency or crypto asset platform have been lost. If, on the other hand, CPUs everywhere are mining, then there is no way to make such a request. I do not think ASICs are dominating the Ravencoin network. I believe this because I've done back of napkin math to evaluate the profitability of a 1080 Ti mining rig we have at the office. Holy moly, this was written so long ago, back in the 1080 Ti days. At the time of the calculation a few weeks ago, it is making around $300 and costing about $65 in electricity. We do not know how much faster an ASIC can be than a GPU for X16R. But if there were a lot of ASICs that run thousands of times faster, then GPUs would be wildly unprofitable, and that isn't the case. Our rig is still running a profit, and this is pretty much true across the board. Remember, we talked about Aleo just launching their ASIC, or basically having ASICs just launched for them from Ice River and Gold Shell. And immediately, if we go to the profitability charts for cryptocurrency, you will see that it is completely off the list now. We essentially have, as you can see here, Ergo hitting the top now, and Ironfish. And Aleo is already off the list. So this is still true to this day. If ASICs are on the network in any form or fashion, GPUs become unprofitable nearly immediately. And that's just the way it goes. So he goes on to say, in the Ravencoin white paper, it is said to, quote, create a platform like Bitcoin with a new mining algorithm intended to prevent immediate dominance by mining pools and future dominance by ASIC mining equipment. X16R has worked well so far on both of these goals. I would argue not so well on the mining pool goal, but that's me. But the final goal of preventing future dominance by ASIC mining equipment is in question. So it seems like we should at least address the issue of potential ASICs. Let me state up front that there is some opposing an algorithm change. I do not believe that these individuals have an ASIC and therefore a hidden agenda. Now, in the case of, and this is a problem, so here's the cop-out, and this is where the cop-out from developers comes when it pertains to ASIC resistance, and I see it over and over again. The argument is the miners will decide because they have the hash rate. But if somebody has a lot of hash rate and it's a single person, guess who decides? That single person. That's why I don't like these, the miners will decide type of attitudes. If you vote based on just hash rate and somebody has a significant hash rate advantage with an incentive to keep the algorithm the same, what are they going to do? That's why we go back to me not liking those types of responses. Anyways, so they make a valid point that changing mining algorithms can be risky. During the transition, the mining hash rate can drop and the security can be reduced. If the existing miners don't follow or additional miners aren't added to make up the difference, then the security of Ravencoin is reduced. Now, that's only in the interim, and obviously this is not the case anymore. There have been tons of good transitions for proof of work algorithms. You know, Meowcoin's done it. Like we're about to talk about, Blocx has done it. And there's a lot of different tools and technologies that people can use to make sure that there's seamless transfer of hash rate now. In the case of Blocx, even where you don't have X11 anymore in ASIC and you're moving to GPUs, maybe I would say would be a little bit more risky. But a lot of people seem to be able to pull it off, in my opinion. There is also a valid argument that a contentious hard fork, which ironically the folks leading the charge to keep it the same are more likely to make any hard fork a contentious one, may lead to chain splits. This older article about Monero hard fork describes the outcome of at least one attempt to prevent Asics. Link will be down in the description if you want to read further into this. The final outcome was not terrible, but led to several new coins like Monero Original, the Monero Classic, and then although a Monero doesn't have the additional consideration of assets on their chain and therefore has a lower bar to clear for a successful algorithm chain. So let's explore the options. Here's what's interesting too. Like I said, we've had a lot of transitions that have gone through technology's gone to the point to where used to there would be an argument of the security and viability of switching algorithms. That has pretty much become a non-issue anymore. So there is the argument. It's still hard, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot more successful and a lot more proven. Back in the day when you would have algorithms changed frequently, right? You would end up with basically a bunch of forks. I mean, like he's talking about with Monero. I mean, there's forks of everything from things like this. There's forks from Ethereum. There's forks from all of it, right? And you could always say like longest chain wins, but that's not always agreeable and so on and so forth. So this has gotten a lot better. A lot of people understand cryptocurrency more and are able to execute. These miners are better at managing their rigs and their miners. So, you have smoother transitions than you have seen in the past. So he says one option is to do nothing, which we know they didn't do because they went prog-pow. That's not a proactive approach. And once there are ASICs on the network, it will require more of a non-ASIC community effort to change the algorithm because simple BIP9 voting will not work if the network is already dominated by those, which was the point I went to previously, of course, is that, and it's acknowledged here. And I think that's why so he'll say it'll be up to the miners. Obviously they add in the community and so on and so forth. But you can't do a traditional hash rate vote in the case of ASICs and forking to essentially keep ASICs off the network, because if an ASIC does get on the network, well, they're going to be able to vote everybody else out. Minimal. One option is to make the miner change that would be easy for GPU mining software to change. It would likely be one line, perhaps an XOR with a specific 512 byte value after one of the algorithms. This would obsolete any existing ASICs, but would not have much effect beyond that. It would be easy for ASICs to adapt to that change for any ASICs that aren't already manufactured. It would be obsolete. It would obsolete any custom ASIC chips that are already manufactured, whether or not on network or not. Now, this has also changed here recently with RISC-V. As you guys know, like the Monero ASIC and so on and so forth, because of the development of RISC-V and the implications it has on the hardware and what you can do to adapt and so on, we've seen a lot of combos, right? We have a lot of options now where an ASIC miner can mine multiple algorithms. This is something that's been happening more and more. They can adapt better, not just FPGAs, but full-on ASICs can adapt better, and I do presume that will happen more and more in the future, right? I think you will have ASICs that can adapt algorithms a lot, actually be able to do it full-on. They'll probably lose some efficiency at the end of the day because you'll just have to, but that is definitely something I think that's coming. It won't be a true ASIC, right? But it'll be close enough. So medium would be another option, is to switch from the X16R to X21S, which I don't think they ever went with. They went with an X16R2 V2. I'd have to go back and look. It uses every algorithm every time. As a refresher, X16R uses random algorithms based on nibbles from the previous block hash. The nibbles, which I'd like saying nibbles, are just random numbers between 0 and 15, determine the order of the algorithms. If a nibbler occurs twice, then the algo will be used twice. That's part of X21S prevents an algo from being used twice. And so he goes through this. We don't really need to talk about that one, but he finally goes on to the other option, which would be the X16RV2, which I think was the final decision, which was the full decision. So it's interesting now that the opinion has shifted to, I don't really care if Asics come on the network or not, from them having previously moved to the full implementation of keeping Asics off the network. Sorry, brain fart there. So it is important to note that he's covered all of my kind of tangents that we talked about, including BIP9, block numbers, multi-algo transitions, risks. And if you want to go through the rest of this down below, we really could have stopped at, well, the full's about perfect, because that's what I really wanted to demonstrate, is that this has been done before on Ravencoin. Now, the big thing, like I said, that I'm worried about is that if we have a ProgPow ASIC, it's not just Ravencoin that has a problem. I think Ravencoin would survive ASICs no problem based off of the length of the project, age of the project, and the amount of Ravencoin in circulation. Don't think it would actually impact it that negatively. And there's enough of a community, for the lack of a better term, or basically active miners and people that are interested in Ravencoin, they would probably distribute out the hardware pretty well as a whole. But the risk would really be how that affects the wider proof of work ecosystem, as we do have a ton of different coins using some form or fashion of ProgPow. And that's going to wrap that up as far as I am concerned. I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions. Would you be in favor of Asics on Ravencoin? Is going to be it. So let's finish the other vote real quick. Is Trump meme a positive? And we have 55% saying no and 45% saying yes. I guess I'm in the minority, but I still love y'all. Let's end that one, and then let's go ahead, and that was with 191 votes. Let's go ahead and start a poll. Should Ravencoin allow Asics? Yes or no? I'd be curious to see what you guys think on that one in particular. Now, let's talk about a transition in the opposite direction. The great thing about cryptocurrency is you can always find a project, I think, as a whole that aligns with your ethos. I'm not a big fan of community as far as cryptocurrency communities in general. I think that you should avoid those because you need to be able to think objectively about what you're doing with your crypto mining farm. But I think a certain amount of allegiance to projects that align with your personal ethics and morals and all that sort of stuff is a reasonable position to take. Luckily, it seems like the communities can influence it in the direction that they prefer. Case in point here, of course, is going to be Blocx. And they have said goodbye to Asics and moved over to Autolicos 2 algorithm. For those that are not in the know, Autolicos 2 is the algorithm that was developed by the Ergo founders and has been applied outside of Ergo previously, but now is being applied to Blocx. There's some arguments over whether Autolicos 2 is, an efficient use of memory, as it doesn't fully load up the memory and so on and so forth. But a part of that is helpful when you're talking about energy consumption and heat for a mining farm or a GPU that's mining. So there's positives as far as that goes. I'm not sure the exact reasons why Blocx decided to go to it. Maybe we'll find out. So as a historic milestone, Blocx will be the second ever coin to use the Autolicos 2 algorithm following Ergo. We are transitioning our hashing algorithm from X11 to Autolicos 2, marking a significant step towards more inclusive and decentralized mining. This change will open up mining opportunities for everyone, making it more accessible and equitable, ensuring stability and continuity for our network stakeholders. This switch will not affect our masternodes, and operations with masternodes will continue as before. So it says, consider Alex a tech enthusiast with a powerful gaming GPU. Under the previous X11 algorithm, they couldn't compete with large ASIC miners and felt excluded from participating in Blocx. With the switch to Autolicos 2, Alex can now use their GPU to mine Blocx effectively. This change democratizes mining, allowing individuals like Alex to contribute to the network, earn rewards, and support the ecosystem. Now, I think this is a smart PR move as a whole. I think moving to Asic resistance for a small cryptocurrency that's looking for a boost in number of participants, this is probably a smart move, because if you give people the ability to begin participating within the network without just having to dump money directly into buying your token, then you get more people that are going to participate, and you further decentralize your network. So I think overall, this is a good move from a PR perspective, especially with the struggling GPU miners these days. So it does go on to say that for decentralization, ASIC mining often leads to the centralization of mining power, where only a few with specialized hardware can participate. By switching to Autolicos 2 algorithm, we enable GPU-based mining, which allows a broader range of participants to join and contribute to the network. This move is essential for promoting decentralization, as it redistributes mining power more evenly across our user base. Autolicos 2 offers improved resistance to ASICs, which help prevent centralization and enhance the network security against potential attacks. This algorithm ensures that mining remains competitive and fair, reducing the risk of a few entities controlling a large portion of the mining power. And then finally, they say with the upcoming launch of their marketplace, users will be able to rent out their GPU computing power from various activities. And this is really, I think, right here, the driver behind the decision, which is they have a marketplace that's going to allow you to rent out your GPU for computing power. And as a benefit, the integration creates a synergistic effect where the new algorithm supports the marketplace, and the marketplace incentivizes more users to participate in mining. And so overall, I think this is a good strategy from them. They're going to use some of the key terms that a lot of people within cryptocurrency that have been around for a long time align with, as far as Bitcoin white paper, one CPU equals one vote, decentralization, and so on. So I think that this was a smart move from a marketing perspective. The performance on it, let's go ahead and take a look at maybe how well it's doing, because I am curious. Ergo's at the top. I don't even know if it's listed. There's Blocx. Okay, so Blocx right now on a CMP, well, let's put in a more reasonable rate. Let's go like 8 cents. 8 cents. Is making about 15 cents a day in profit, while Ergo is making about 30 cents a day in profit. So, how much? Here's a cool site. Have you guys heard of Mining Pool Stats? I'm sure a lot of y'all have. Let's look at the total hash rate on Ergo real quick. 12.5 terahash. And then let's see how much that's distributed between Blocx. 441 gigahash. So a lot of extra hash rate on Ergo. Another concerning factor here, of course, is that a majority of this hash rate is on Wooly Pulley. They had this problem on X11 too. Unfortunately, it appears to still be a problem now. The amount of ads on Mining Pool Stats has gone way up. Right? I'm not crazy, right? All right. So, um, the changes already happened. I just wanted to bring you guys up to date and show that we aren't, GPU mining is still something that people are interested in. It's still something projects are actively pushing for. And so there is hope on the GPU mining front as far as that's concerned. Now, I do need to bring up something. This is going to be a correction. Let me get some water real quick. I won't be running any pools. No. All right. So a little while ago, obviously, I did the reaction to Voss Coin's QAI. Is that how it's spelled? QUAI. I think it's QAI. And obviously, I was against it for the most part, due to the fact that I don't think content creators should be taking payment from a cryptocurrency that they are reviewing. I think it is a conflict of interest, but that is my own personal ethics. And that aside, I think anybody that decides that they want to do that, they have the right to do that. They can deal with their own ethics for themselves. So that's kind of where I left it. That we did point out, of course, in the reaction, some of the oddities with their tokenization, distribution, so on. You can go watch that video. It's a very good sum up of the entire project and so on and so forth. But they had recently, they're moving to mainnet now. And you have to, the idea that they had was similar to Ironfish, in that they utilized something called an incentivized testnet. What an incentivized testnet is that they basically start up the blockchain. You can't actually move those tokens in and out or sell them anywhere. It's a test, but it's incentivized. So it's basically help us test the network. And in return, we will basically convert your testnet tokens, or a certain portion of those, into mainnet tokens. Now, this is a more decentralized way of essentially having some sort of public pre-mine or fair launch, but it is still like a certain group of people that were participating will have a certain amount of the tokens on the mainnet at launch. Obviously, this can be done to help solve liquidity problems. There's lots of reasons for this. If you want me to cover them, I can cover it in another video in more detail. I'm getting to the point. So what happened here was the same thing that had happened with Ironfish, where there were regulatory hurdles in the US for converting the testnet tokens to the main net. And it meant that for a while, they had announced that essentially US participants were not going to be able to convert their testnet tokens to the main net. Obviously, I had a big problem with this, not only because of the problem of US citizens not being able to participate, but also from the aspect of them paying for ads on a US based cryptocurrency mining channel, which meant a huge portion of their testnet participants were going to obviously be in the US. And that meant that all of these people that they had sold this idea of an incentivized testnet to were then not able to participate. Won't lie, I went pretty hard on them on Twitter, and they did reply, and Alan specifically, and then he did clarify that this has now been fixed. So I wanted to talk about this and let you guys know that you can now participate in the conversion of the testnet tokens on the QAI network over to the US. The website, or over to the mainnet. The website is over here at claims.q.ai if you need to go over there. and claim your testnet tokens. And he just said, we have adjusted the process and are now allowing US participants and miners to go through claims. Thanks for sharing the feedback. See you on mainnet soon. So they do have their mainnet launch coming up. If you would like me to go into how to mining it, I have no problem making a how to mine the video. I like to make how to mine videos for everything, so we'll cover it. I believe, if I recall, it was going to be on some form of ProgPal. So, you know, it's going to be pretty simple for anybody that's been mining for any certain amount of time to take advantage of it. We can talk about tokenomics in another video, IDoc. Well, I guess we can talk about them. Let's go look. So, and I think that's part of the, well, that was definitely part of the issue that I had with them initially, right? Let's see if we can open up their tokenomics here for you. Dear Lord. Be under ecosystem, maybe. No, that's going to be tokens. Maybe under docs. Tokenomic overview. So let's let you guys know what it is, I guess. This doesn't look like it's actually giving you any tokenomics itself. They say it's actually pronounced KY, so I guess that's good. KY jelly? You should go with QAI. I would just change it. I would change it. Let's look at block distribution. So this is the one. Okay, so the projected emission curves, it looks like okay, here we go. Genesis, 33% goes to the foundation. I'm colorblind as heck. 23% goes to community incentives. I think it's just going this way. Yeah, it's going this way. So 20% to strategic partners, 16% to the team. So if we do a quick calculator here and we go 33.3 plus 23 plus 20 plus 16.3, you have, is that right? Okay, hold on. Maybe I'm missing something here. So there's KY, which comes from the character. Okay. And then there's Chi. Sorry. And then there's Chi. Chi. Okay, so one of these. Chi is a stable token. What do you get when you mine? Okay, so you get the Chi when you mine. And then they have the KY, which will be not the stable token, but the token to draw. So they have two tokens. That's the distinction here. What is odd is it sounds like to me you get the non-mineable version of the KY, as the testnet incentive of 16%. And wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's less than that. Whatever percentage this is, not much. So the testnet, while mining Qi on the network, was earning KY on the mainnet. And then you have essentially emissions for the Qi, which will be the fair launch block reward portion of that. Does that make sense? 2 tokens. Yep, there we go. It's always good to clarify. Good question, Doc. Yep. So I guess it really depends on how you look at it. I assume what they'll have is a liquidity pool on launch between Qi and KY, and you can basically swap that in at some point for the developers to be able to sell the Qi on in exchange for the KY to fund their projects. I assume some sort of situation like that's going to happen. It looked pretty clear that they were doing some DeFi type things with a marketplace, etc. So this is obviously going to be all integrated into that. I'm sure those tokens will somehow find their value in all of that. It's a little convoluted, obviously, but it does look like you basically have a fair launch of the key token of the Qi token. Yeah, there you go. So I wanted to issue that correction, then we got to talk about it a little bit further. The next segment today is going to be talking about the Lightchain protocol. Somebody asked me to take a look at this. I think like when we'll go over first impressions. We're going to do an initial first impression of Lightchain, which you can find at Lightchain.ai. Links will be in the description. All right. So when I first look at this, obviously we have a connect your wallet option here. Looks like you can connect Phantom. You can connect the Brave wallet, Trust wallet, MetaMask Phantom. We already said Phantom. And Wallet Connect with the QR code. So right off the bat, I go, okay, well, some sort of tokens going on here. You can see that you can actually buy it now. It has the current price, it has the amount raised, and the next stage price. So I guess they have price goals, which is a little suspicious off the bat, if I was going to tell the truth. It also appears to be on the ERC20, which is going to cost a lot in fees. So it's pretty much on an inferior network at this point. Not a fan of whatever's going on here. Not a fan. Okay. Proof of intelligence is what they say it is. A revolutionary consensus mechanism designed to reward nodes for performing valuable AI computations, such as model training, inference, and optimization tasks. Unlike traditional consensus mechanisms, such as proof of work or stake, the POI incentivizes meaningful contributions to AI development while maintaining network security. This is nothing novel. A lot of people have been working on this. I have not seen a successful, meaningful implementation of this to this point. If you know of one, let me know. Artificial intelligence virtual machine. So that's just going to be a VM, like EVM, is designed for ground-breaking computational layer to execute AI-specific tasks seamlessly on the blockchain. Unlike static systems, the AI VM is a living entity capable of evolving through the collaborative efforts of global developer community. So there you go. Basically capitalizing on the popularity of AI right now, trying to capitalize on some form of moving GPU miners over to it with their consensus mechanism, and then trying to sell a token to you prior to launch is what it looks like. Let's take a look at the roadmap. So they're going to be, I guess this one's completed. They've developed the consensus mechanism and the AI VM. And they have a developer portal launch, so I guess you could work within it. I don't know the validity of that. Obviously, we're not going to try to test that right now. They're going to need to, the testnet does not look like it's out, which means you don't have anything but essentially a token. You effectively have a meme token with a promise of them doing something in the future at this time. And then they go through all the rest of the typical stuff. Usually when I start scrolling down this, I just look for what's done. I don't really care about what's not done, especially if you're trying to sell me a token right off the bat. Okay. That's how I look at these. It looks like your first step is going to be, here's how you can buy, here's how you can win, and the reviews. It would be kind of funny to look at reviews, I suppose. Looks like there's going to be some YouTube videos of a lot of people that probably have questionable ethics. Oh, Lordy. Okay. You can look at a couple of these projects. Let's just go ahead and react to this one. For those of you that are interested, this is Crypto Show. He has 112 subscribers on YouTube. Let's go ahead and see what he has to say about AI. Here we go. Let's take a listen.
Welcome back to the Crypto Show, my dear crypto fan.
If you need me to adjust the volume or anything, let me know.
The Lightchain protocol AI, a groundbreaking project that
a little bit of an accent. It might be hard for me to.
Combines artificial intelligence and blockchain technology. With its innovative features and highly anticipated pre-sale.
This seems like he's reading off of a script. I'm going to say that right off of the bat. He's reading off of a script. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him some of the token to do this video. I don't know if that's disclosed anywhere. I don't see any disclosure of payments at this point.
This is one project you don't want to miss. So let's get started. I just want to tell you that I'm not your financial advisor. This is not your financial advice.
I used to think that like I needed to do these disclaimers because when I first started getting into cryptocurrency content creation, this is what I saw from everyone like Ivan on Tech and guys like that. In the cryptocurrency mining space, this isn't necessary because you're not selling scams to people.
Guys, please do your own research before making any investments. Lightchain protocol bridging AI with decentralization, community, blockchain with everything. This is a huge project, guys, and the first thing what really caught my attention at the moment was their pre-sale, namely the app order. And at the top of the website, the hero, as you can see, the Lightchain AI pre-sale is now live. Be part of the future, claim your discounted tokens and exclusive access to revolutionary AI blockchain technology. Don't wait, join the innovation wave today. As I said it, their T-app order, their pre-sale, something really big. But it's something, guys, what I will show you guys in a couple of minutes. First of all, let's create better image of what it is all about, guys, when we say Lightchain protocol AI. As you can see, guys, order, when you scroll down a little bit, guys, you're greeted, I would say, with a sleek and I would say also intuitive interface with that reflects, of course, the project's commitment.
So we already read all of that. He's just reading that to us, so I'm not really worried about it.
Transparency with an open, auditable, and accountable AI system, redefining trust in intelligent operations, which is create things. As you can see, guys, the partners Benzinga, News, Crypto, Analytics Insight, Bitcoin, other.
I mean, these are all. So this website is just a template that a lot of different crypto projects utilize. You can essentially just deploy this as a template with Docker in no time at all, and then set up all the connections for the dApps so you can sell your token. And part of all of those is typically always going to be putting things like these, you know, these kind of verification. This is to get you to basically validate that the project is real or good. Just because it has like any of these types of different articles on them doesn't necessarily mean that the project actually supports them. Like, for example, if we click crypto.com, basically crypto.com is just doing an AI or a API pull to get the Lightchain.ai information that they coded onto the Ethereum blockchain. It doesn't mean that crypto.com actually has anything to do with this project. So just a little tip as far as if you guys are looking at these kind of things, what to watch out for. This, anybody can generate this and get crypto.com to pull the API and then make you think that crypto.com is somehow involved when they're not actually involved.
Big names in our world, guys, not in our space, in our world, guys. As you can see, those are the features, guys, that really stand out this project from another projects. Poll consensus, revolutionizing consensus with the proof of intelligence, something what I have mentioned. Artificial intelligence virtual machine.
I think it's POI, because he said poll, but I believe it's POI, proof of intelligence, because intelligence starts with an I. That's just something I noticed.
Of course, something what I have mentioned, transparent AI framework, also what I have mentioned. Governance integration, as you can see, seamless fusion of decentralized governance and AI for smarter community-driven decision making. Then we had the meme coin launchpad after that, elevating the meme economy with secure AI-enhanced platform for creativity and monetization. Wow, this is one great thing. As you can see, meme coin involved into this. And
he just winked at the camera. This is one great thing, guys.
Decentralized governance, as you can see, pioneering equitable, transparent decision making powered by advanced AI and blockchain technologies. Alright, let's scroll down a little bit. As you can see, we're coming across the roadmap. And this roadmap, for me, showcases Lightchain.ai's ambitious plans. As you can see, 3 phases over there. As you can see, the first phase with the prototype development of Paul,
which isn't done, even though they mark it as done on their roadmap. I mean, I guess it depends on how you define it, right? To me, all I see done right now is a token on the EVM or on the Ethereum blockchain.
Right now, to the tokenomics is the core of this project.
All right, get me into the good stuff.
Outlines the distribution of the Lightchain.ai protocol tokens, focusing on sustainability and growth, guys. Something what these guys are really developing, guys. They are really into it. As you can see, the pre-sale allocation over there, guys, 40%. This is if I see good, 4 billion tokens. Staking and rewards, guys. Wow. 2 billion and 850 million tokens.
Doesn't it seem like a problem if your consensus mechanism, which is staking, is almost half of what your pre-sale is?
As you can see over there, which leads us to a 28.
That would typically be a red flag, just in case you guys are wondering.
0.5% of their token allocations, of their total supply. Liquidity exchange listings, as you can see, 1.5 billion tokens. Marketing and collaborations, as you can see, 500 million tokens.
He's like, as you can see, this is what I got paid to make this video.
Over there. And treasury and reserve, 650 million, guys, which leads us to 6.5%. Wow. What I can tell you guys,
as you can see, this is
really transparent, I would say, and well structured, of course. Building on that way.
I don't know they got paid. He didn't. It's not denoted here.
Just
to be clear.
Long-term vision.
Just a joke.
Time, guys, definitely, as you can see, give it a shot and really dive deep into their details, guys. Why I'm saying that? You can, guys, always check out their white paper. As you can see over there, this is, as you can see, one great place for you. 29 pages. Plenty of information, guys, for you guys. Everything really explained, guys, into the details. You can really find out more about everything, guys, in their white paper. My always high recommendation, guys, for you. Definitely, guys, check it out. Of course, guys, the team section here introduces, guys, the core minds behind Lightchain AI.
The mining
highlighting
show
their
is back,
expertise in AI,
Wazlo.
blockchain, and technology innovation, guys. Each member brings significant experience, ensuring with that the projects isn't capable.
I mean, to be fair, to be real, not to be fair, to be real, this white paper is also a template.
Hence, a strong and transparent team is always critical for a project success, guys. And Lightchain AI delivers on both fronts. So guys, definitely find out everything, guys, about their team, everything, guys, about their plans, and guys, definitely read this everything out. My other recommendation for you. Okay, let's go back. As you can see,
Yeah, there's not going to be any information for this particular token. It's like he'll tell you to deep dive just to cover his ass. And then if you actually do deep dive, you're not going to find anything of substance.
this smart contract address left over there, so guys, you can copy it and pop it to your wallet. When you scroll down a little bit, guys, you can see also, guys, their facts. As you can see, section that answers common questions, including, for example, what is their token. As you can see over there, what makes Lightchain AI's poll consensus unique, how does the artificial intelligence virtual machine work, what are the details, all their pre-sale, guys, everything, guys, that you need is put over there. Secure the future, join Lightchain Protocol AI. Be at the forefront of technological evolution with the Lightchain AI's pre-sale, something what I'm going to show you guys right now. Alright, when you navigate,
so I
guys,
think he's just
to
going to
the
go
top
into
of
a
the site,
guide
something what I can mention, you can see, guys, their pre-sale.
to connect your
Right
wallet
now, they're on the third
and buy the pre-sale.
and we're going to have.
Now, I would say that if you do want to participate in one of these to be extremely safe, I'm going to give you guys a little tip. If you do want to like gamble on this, because let's be honest, this is a gamble at the end of the day. One of the good things about pulling the APIs being pulled by a trusted source like crypto.com is you can get the actual contract address for that. You can use this contract address within any DeFi application, whether it be Uniswap or PancakeSwap, depending on the network, right? And you want to put this contract address into whatever DeFi platform you're utilizing to swap, instead of connecting your wallet directly to a website. Never directly connect your wallet to a website. This developer could even be just utilizing this as a honeypot to get you to sign something that you don't actually want to sign. So if you want to buy the token, always look for the contract address. Always utilize that and review it. Clicking connect, within here is not advisable. Just not saying this particular project has that issue, but just so you guys know for the future.
The price appreciation, guys, over there. As you can see, right now the current price of this token is 0.201875.
And I mean, this price has been shown to actually be going up, right? So it says it's pulling it here at 0.5 of a penny, so it's nearly tripled since he talked about it.
And the next stage price will be 0.20225. Total USDT raise so far $321,000, guys, which is really great and big amount of money over there.
Big amount
so how
of
to
money.
Participate in the pre-sale, you're wondering right now.
Big amount of money.
As you can see, guys, connect your wallet. First of all, when you click on it, guys, you're free to choose MetaMask.
Dude, they should get this guy to do a video for Trump Coin. I feel like it's perfect. I think he would do a fantastic job.
Coinbase, all the wallets, Wallet Connect. You're free to choose, guys. Really simple, as always. Then, guys, please make sure, guys, to have some Ethereum or USDT on your wallets, because you need Ethereum or USDT to buy their tokens. You need to swap for their tokens. As you can see, for example, if you want to buy it with some Ethereum, guys, you need to specify the amount of Ethereum you will.
And if you use another exchange or like another DeFi platform, you can see if there's any other pairings other than USDT or Ethereum
To contribute, for example, two. And on the right side, guys, you can see how many of their tokens you're going to receive. After that, guys, you need to review the details and confirm transaction, guys, through your wallet.
I didn't see any. There's a contact button,
to buy their tokens.
But if somebody asked in chat, of course, can you do we know who the devs are? And it looks like the contact button's now removed. So let's see if there is any dev mentions. Usually can go down here, right? Faucet, external, coin market cap, reviews. This would be an interesting announcement, white paper audits. Oh wow, Coin Market Cap doesn't even have a. This one price isn't tracked, so you have to go directly there. Looks like they did do a contract audit from Spywolf Network. I'm not familiar with this. I don't usually do. I do a lot of proof of work. So as far as audits on tokens, I'm not well versed enough to know if this is, you know, a good source or whatnot, right? And it just says that it's, you know, it's verifying that they can't mint new tokens. You can't pause trading or blacklist an address or anything like those sorts of things that could happen by signing that contract, right? So to protect you on those sorts of things. Yeah. But I don't see any actual links to the team. I could be wrong.
All the transactions confirmed, guys. The corresponding amount of the
So I think the
2.6
rest
thousand
of
members,
this,
380 people online engaged, doing really great things for the community. So guys, definitely, if you want to stay connected and with the group about,
I mean, this is just effectively an advertisement, which is, you know, a lot of what these things are. I don't think we're gonna get any great insight out of him in particular.
this is your great.
The consensus mechanism wasn't really talked about here. Definitely, if you look at the Twitter account, this kind of behavior where you have a ton of followers, only one following outside of really extremely popular people, usually means a botted account. I guess he's gonna. What is this page? Because I didn't see this one. So this is just an article on Zcrypto.
The Lightchain protocol AI presale is getting traction among whales, indicating strong institutional interest. The article highlights the project's innovative approach and its potential to disrupt both the AI and the blockchain industries. Guys, definitely check it out. Big players are already taking notice, which is a promising sign for a future growth. Also, as you can see on financefeeds.com, make your calendars. Lightchain protocol AI confirms launch.
And these are all effectively, you're able to get those articles done for free or for paid and post them yourself. So you have to go through all that at some point.
To be the parts of a groundbreaking project that's reshaping the future of decentralized intelligence.
Yeah, we didn't get much out of that, unfortunately. I'll link this video if you guys want to go check it out. But my opinion on this project is there's no evidence of actual work being done at this time. You're effectively playing the lottery if playing with the swap for the tokens. We could try to see, as far as the idea goes, like I said, this is something that's been talked about a lot, but I haven't necessarily seen anything come to fruition except for Dynex, which isn't actual for AI necessarily completely, but you know, as far as some sort of proof of useful work, there's that. You also have Blocx, which operates in a little different manner than Dynex to do this type of thing. Those are projects that actually have work done in that manner and are farther along. This is basically taking a shot in the dark at that point. So thanks for asking me to look at Lightchain.ai. I would prefer to look at better projects, at least something that gives us something in the white paper that covers, you know, I guess the actual details on how they're going to make it work. And like I said, if as soon as I see this kind of website, I can kind of immediately go, okay, well, what they've done here is a template, right? And then, I mean, they're smart enough to build the token and have the API pools work properly so that they get, populated within things like crypto.com and CoinMarketCap and so on. So there are those things that take some knowledge to be able to do. But yeah, I wouldn't trade into it, but I'm also a proof of work guy. Once again, mine it, don't buy it. So there you go. All right, so we're gonna take a pee break real quick, and then when I get back, we have a new mining YouTuber entering the space. His name is Modern Mining. I don't think he knows I'm gonna do this in particular, which is going to be a reaction to his video about GPU mining profits just went from bad to worse in 2025. I'll be right back, and we'll hop into it. All right. Let's see what Modern Mining has to say about GPU mining going from bad to worse in 2025.
Welcome back to Modern Mining. Today I've got some somewhat unfortunate news for us GPU miners. So Aleo Asics have basically been announced.
Is it pronounced Aleo? Have I been pronouncing it wrong the whole time? Aleo? Have I? That's my bad, bro.
River unit and a gold shell unit
Aleo.
are listed on Crypto Miner Bros right now. I don't necessarily recommend getting them. There's a lot of risk that goes into them, and Aleo has not been a strong coin as of late. But regardless, this video is about GPU mining, and when Aleo gets...
I'm the only one here. I don't have to wash my hands. Design.
Taken over by Asics, that's going to be very bad for GPU.
I have work to do, okay? There's clear work to do here. We need to get down to the bottom of this no good GPU mining in 2025.
Miners. But in the meantime, we need to do a few things down here because I need to check what my actual farm profitability is right now. I just got hit with a $600 power bill, which is fine if we're making money, but if my rigs aren't really...
I can't even remember how I said it now, iDoc. I was saying Aleo, and you said Aleo too, and then he's saying Aleo. I don't even remember how he said it now. Now, this is what happens with pronunciations. I get confused.
Making money, then I don't need to be paying that.
You know what they say, if you can pee without your hands heavy.
That much for power out of pocket each month. It just doesn't make much sense. So we are going to check all my rigs and see if they're profitable or not. And if they're not, then we're going to make some moves. Now, I'm a little nervous to see what those calculations come out at because Zealous is at like $4.50 right now. It's been dropping pretty significantly along with the rest of the market.
Well, so, and Zealous is going to be prime. I mean, you're still probably more beneficial with Zealous on CPUs. For GPUs, I feel like, I'm staying away from Zealous. I mean, even the miner developer SRB Miner pulled support for GPU mining on Zealous. So I don't know that it's really beneficial or even worth your time to mine that with GPUs.
A quick word from our sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by...
That's my opinion. He's got an ad here for Miner Bros.
Crypto Miner Bros.
You guys can go use his affiliate link if you want.
For crypto mining. Right now might be the last time to get a good deal on ASIC miners before the prices start to rise. Crypto Miner Bros has...
I mean, this is going to be the case for everything, and don't get caught FOMOing. I mean, if you FOMO into something like the Aleo miner, you can find yourself in a very, very bad position, right? Like we talked about before. You know, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes. And the last 3 projects that Asics have been launched for, namely Caspa, Lithium, and Radiant, the miner profitabilities went down significantly. And if you're looking at like purchasing mining hardware right now, you should be looking at the miners that are already priced low, that aren't profitable right now, that you can get a good deal on. Especially right now, you can get good deals on people that are getting out, right? Like I think I just saw S19s for $250 a pop, right? They're S19Is, $250 a pop. They're not profitable right now without like extremely cheap power. But if you actually think crypto is going to go up in the future, that's going to be your best bang for your buck. Let's say in the next 6 months, it goes up to even making 50 cents a day. You're going to ROI that one a lot faster than you're going to ROI a $3,900 miner that's only making 5 cents a day, right? I mean, that's just
all the most profitable
the strategies
from
behind
the most
it.
popular brands, including Jazz Miner, Ice River, Bitmain. Price you see is the final price you pay. No hidden fees or customs, which is super nice. Use code MODERN to get $70 off every.
There you go. There you go, guys. Use code MODERN. Crypto Miner Bros.
Item in your cart regardless of price. I'll leave links down below to my favorite miners, and with that, let's get back into it.
Ooh, got some cinematography going on. I like it.
That was the first act of business, getting this garage airtight again, because we are about to have some 4-degree high temperatures, 4-degree Fahrenheit in Kentucky. For you Celsius people, that's like minus 15. So definitely need to
I would never go with any early ASIC. Yeah, it's not a good idea. I thought it was a good deal for $375 on the S19J Pro. ROI a lot sooner than the BC250. Yeah, I think like I'm all for buying equipment, even ASICs, provided you're not FOMOing into purchasing ASICs, right?
start warming.
But that's the same with anything in cryptocurrency, right? That goes into like every time I mess up, it's like I'm FOMOing into Melania or something, right? Or Trump or whatever it might be.
76 right now. I expect this to climb to around 90 plus, given a few hours. So what else is going on? If I did a live stream
I like the wood frames.
I'm doing
It's a really good job on the custom built wood frames here. My first frame was wood, so I'm definitely in a proponent of utilizing wood. I think it looks really, really cool. It works well. You know, I guess you could, in theory, say that there's more risk for fires. That is definitely a possibility, but hopefully you have some sort of fire prevention somewhere around your mining rigs. One of the good things you can get for the mining rigs, especially GPU miners, are those little fire bombs. And they're not actually a fire bomb. They're a fire extinguishing bomb. And at a certain temperature, they just poof, they blow up. And then they cover everything in fireproof like material. And I used to take like one fire bomb per like octo miner, for example, and just throw it inside the octo miner. And then if a fire would go off, I have a really bad mess to clean up, but I didn't catch my whole mining farm on fire, right?
doing a test right now on NiceHash.
Or also, just to mention, when you're talking about the fire bombs as opposed to like a traditional sprinkler system or something like that, you don't end up, you know, having one fire go off and then have water damage and electrical fires on all the rest of your equipment because of the sprinklers going off.
Hash versus Cryptex versus unminable, on which is the best to accumulate Bitcoin with your mining farm.
Well, NiceHash now has definitely gone to extremely heavy KYC, so that should be noted. And you can pretty much, I think in the US now, only get paid out in like Bitcoin and maybe a couple other things. It's very limited now. It's not like before where you could like mine, make a little bit of Bitcoin, then go use that to mine something else and so on.
Super curious to see what the results are.
Heavy, did one ever go off? No, you know I'm too good at mining to have a fire, bro.
Just a hint. So far, it looks like
But I'm always prepared.
Unmineable might be the winner, which is crazy because a lot of people have given Unmineable a lot of crap for their fees, me included. So super interested to see the results of what that test brings. But in the middle of that test, you'll notice I've got a bunch of junk land here, junk land on my counter. That's because 1 hour into the test, I literally said, hopefully there's no crashes because it's going to ruin the test. This rainbow rig started having all kinds of issues to the point where I had to swap the power supply. I had to unplug every single GPU riser up here and down here, and I finally ended up getting it working again. But I did have to switch the power supply and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, it wasn't just your typical.
Well, I mean, it still has to be a single problem. So one of the things that I would recommend if you're troubleshooting something is to systematically replace parts one at a time. And if you replace a part and it doesn't solve the problem, put the old part back in and then replace the other part. And then you can actually troubleshoot properly and know what was wrong with the rig. Otherwise, you're just in a position where the next time it goes off, you don't really know what you replaced, what you haven't, and what the actual fix was. So just a little suggestion as far as that is from a troubleshooting perspective.
A GPU drop.
You can always find the problem.
It was quite a bad issue. Now, thankfully, it is back up and running, and I'm just going to let that rig run for probably an extra hour to get accurate results on that. But yeah, I even got out another motherboard. I mean, I was very close to just basically swapping a whole new rig onto it. So shortly we're going to...
I've had those BioStars die on me the most frequently. They're all the different ranges. The BioStar TB, like 350, I think it was, it's dead. What was the one before that? The 170. All of the BioStars have died on me. They're all sitting in storage and they're all dead.
Hop on the computer and see what our profitability looks like. It looks like we are running 4,400 watts on this setup right here. And that is...
And honestly, I think it's because the heat in that farm that I had was way too hot.
All three of my GPU mining...
Any plans to buy a 5090? I have a local micro center. Figured I'd at least try my luck. Yeah, I'm going down there to get in line on the 29th. I'll be in Houston if you guys want to come hang out at the micro center, waiting in line for the 5090.
Rigs are 4 and my Warthog rig. So this is a 5900X and a 3070. So we will include this in the profits because that's also on the same circuit. So I'll just tell you guys right now in advance, if we're not profitable, what is my plan? I'm going to probably be shutting off this rig and just letting these other 3 run. And right now they're accumulating Bitcoin, mining Zealous, and getting switched into Bitcoin. Now I'm going to do that because this rig has a couple Hynix cards on it.
This is something I always want to ask a lot of different people when you're talking about just mining and directly swapping to Bitcoin. If you're a GPU miner, I mean, is that basically self-sacrificing at the end of the day? Like, you're supporting an Asic coin with the liquidity. You're putting sell pressure on the only profitable GPU coin. Is that overall a net negative for GPU mining and your future profitability?
And Hynix cards are less efficient on Zealous than Samsung cards, and the name of the game when profitability is very low is efficiency. So I need to make sure that my mining farm is
The name of the game is speculative mining.
as efficient as possible. And I know for a fact that that rig is definitely my least efficient of all the ones I have, mainly because of those 2 Hynix cards, but also I'm taking the same amount of power on that motherboard as I am on this motherboard, but that motherboard is only sporting 6 cards, whereas this motherboard is sporting 12. That's small thing, but it does add up. Also, those are LED fans. I don't know what the wattage is on those. Very small still, but all that stuff kind of adds up. And with my power bill having been $600, if I am significantly unprofitable, then that will be when I turn off. Now, there's a lot of debate in the crypto mining community about, oh, you should never really turn off your mining rigs, but from a purely financial business standpoint, if you are significantly negative, so not like 50 cents or something like that, but losing multiple dollars a day, and obviously it also depends on your situation. If you have a massive mining farm, then a couple dollars a day is nothing. But if you're small fry, then if you're losing a couple dollars a day or $5 a day, it makes more sense to turn your rigs off and buy the coin, because you're going to be getting that extra $5 in coin buying it than you would burning the power. Now, those calculations are also different during the winter.
I think if you're I've always been a promoter of, like, obviously, like, revenue over over holding, you know, or over anything really at the end of the day. And so I agree from the perspective of, like, there's no reason to mine at a loss, especially when you have mouths to feed, etc. But at some point, if you're going to be in the game at all, I would assume you would want to be doing a little bit of speculative mining that will basically cost you your whole power bill. And that's really going to come down to, like, min-maxing, obviously, efficiency, along with, you know, your higher upsides on things, and selling on day of listing and being familiar with all the exchanges and all that sort of thing. I don't think the ability to, like, plug and hash at whatever is most profitable is a thing anymore, at least right now. And it's probably going to become a thing within the next 6 months, but right now I just don't think that is the way it works.
Because of course I'm using this to heat my house.
So one kid spent $3K on 3070s a year ago to mine Pyron. Yeah, Pyron.
But
just rugged everyone.
I have other miners now that can heat my house. All my Asic miners are still at least break even or semi-profitable, so I can still use those. So the one other change I want to quickly...
I mean, that's good. It sounds like he's profitable still. The cycle has been mostly holding and losing on my coins. Rough time for GPU miners, even when you're mining at a profit. A few months later, it was at a loss. Yeah, and you got to be careful. Like, the whole idea of just mine and hold. Like, if you're going negative and you're not able to pay your bills because you like, I go about it this way, right? If I wake up and my miners are profitable that day, I know that that's when I need to swap to USDT to cover my power bill, right? I mean, it's pretty simple as far as that's concerned. And that's kind of, right now we're in that weird kind of flux area where a 5 to 10% gain for the day is the difference between you being profitable for the week or not. That's really... That's the game we're playing, right? I think Bitcoin's at like 100K right now. It's at 108K last night. Well, when it's at 108K, swap that shit to USDT, all of it that you've mined for the week, and get some set aside to make sure you can cover the power bill, you know?
We make in regards to heating my house before this crazy cold temperature comes is this miner. If you remember, I set it up in the office. Office was getting way too hot with that and the AL zeros. It was getting like 76 degrees.
I haven't seen one of those. I guess that's the I'm not really into Asics, but yeah, I haven't seen this one in particular.
Granted, it would probably be fine now since it's going to get so cold. So I do have this in the basement bedroom. And if you've been a fan of the channel for a long time, I'll put a video up here for if you weren't a fan for a long time. I used to have a mining rig down here during the winter, but I don't anymore. I just put this guy down here, and this room's pretty hot. I wish I had a temperature sensor in here. But I am gonna move this thing upstairs right now because we normally are sitting upstairs and living upstairs, and that's where I want the heat to be. And this thing seriously pumps out some heat. So let's get this thing moved up there. All right, we'll carry this.
It sounded pretty quiet.
Special thanks to Bree. It's the first time we've ever had camera help on the channel. Bring it in
Congratulations on your milestone.
here. And I think this one we'll just set up over in this corner to keep the kitchen
That's a lot of whiskey, brother. Do we need to have an intervention over here?
nice and warm. So let's set this right here. And that's the great thing about these home miners is you just plug them in and they run on Wi-Fi, so super easy to move them wherever you want. And just like that, should be good to go. So now we've got the Jazz miner right here and the DG Home 1 right here. Just enough heat to hopefully keep this upstairs.
You like getting paid in Bitcoin, not really interested in holding most altcoins. Yeah, but that goes back to my question. Like, my question is like, are you not hurting yourself at the end of the day as a GPU miner by swapping everything to Bitcoin? Randomizer says, what cards are desirable for GPU mining at this time? Still have some 6000 series and 30 series. I mean, right now we're in that position where next week we have the GDDR7 launching on the 50 series cards, and that's going to be extremely impactful on Autolicos and memory intensive algorithms, and seeing that those are the most profitable right now. It's not a bad idea to consider upgrading to all those types of things, especially before, you know, you can't get them at retail.
About 70 degrees with.
And I assume we're going to have trouble with retail pricing on the 50 series regardless of whether GPU mining is profitable or not this go around, just because of AI and limited quantities and probably tariffs and stuff like that are also going to go into play with the Trump administration.
Without even having to turn the heat on, despite it being like 4 degrees outside. All right, guys, so let's do some profitability calculations. Am I profitable on my GPUs? And if not, then we got to take some actions downstairs. So the reason GPU mining profitability is hurting so bad right now is mainly 2 reasons. And unfortunately, it's probably going to get worse. Zealous is down 50% over the last 30 days. This is the coin I've been mining.
This video was made 12 hours ago.
Essentially the whole time. And also Aleo is down 50% the last 30 days. So that is basically taking all of the mining revenue that miners were making, or GPU miners were making a month ago, and cutting it in half. So unless...
Well, it's not just that too, right? We have the Asics going on, Aleo or Aleo. Chat said Aleo.
GPU miners in the world turned off their machines, then we're basically making 50% less than we did last month. And so that's where all this kind of pain is coming from, and it's getting to the point where my farm is almost not profitable, but that's what we're going to figure out right now. So if we go by the calculators, what does that say? Are we profitable by the calculators at least? So my farm is all over the place because I'm doing that experiment right now, but we should still be able to add these 3 hash rate numbers here and get my total Zealous hash rate. So 327 plus 346. So 1171 is my Zealous hash rate. Let's put that into the calculator here on hash rate NO. And if we look for Zealous on here and we put in 1171 and then our wattage.
Pretty crazy the hash rate.no just overturned.
Even though the Warthog rig is still on
that
circuit, we'll just do it like this for now.
Just off of building off of the
we are
bear
losing
market.
$1.31 a day like that. But if we take into account our Warthog, let's see how much Warthog we are generating per day. And it looks like...
I didn't see his Warthog rigs. Did he show those off? Just that one top one, huh?
We are generating... This is my Hero Miners page. You can see I'm making about a little over 1.1 Warthog per day. And that comes out to be around 75 cents. So when you calculate that in as well... My whole farm downstairs is losing about 60 cents a day. So that's pretty sad because that's a lot of hardware and it's just not making a profit right now. But that's where GPU mining has been all year.
Yeah, but I mean, like, here's the deal. If you're going to base your mining off of daily fluctuations, like, you're just going to be turning on and off again all the time. And that's also not when you sell the coin. And so I don't think that's the way to look at it. You need to look at an overall trend. Like, if you're within profitability on a 10% pump You just need to have that ready to execute within an exchange. Like you can't like your daily profitability isn't your actual profitability because you will never sell aside from auto swapping to USDT, I guess, on something like Zergpool. But you typically will never sell the same day you mine it. Especially in his case, he's not going to sell it right at that time. So you calculate profitability now, but in 5 minutes it could be different. So I think it's a little flawed.
A battle of some weeks are super good, then the market turns around for a few weeks, and then you're like right on that unprofitable line at 11-cent power.
Yeah, but that's why you have already sold and paid for your power when it was profitable, and then you're holding it until it becomes, that goes back up and puts you back into profit. Like, just because you mine it that day doesn't mean you sell it that day, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So that's theoretically what we're actually losing. But if we look at our actual K1 pool, how much coins we're mining per day, this even paints a slightly grimmer picture. So the last 2 days that I had my whole farm on K1 pool on Zealous, I was getting a little over 2 Zealous a day, which was about $9.6. So if we take $9.6 and we add the 75 cents that we are getting from our Warthog rig, we're generating about $10.35 in crypto every single day. But let's go into here and calculate how much power we're burning. So we're burning 4,400 watts, 24 hours
What's his
a day.
rate?
That is 105.6 kilowatt hours. And if we multiply that by my power rate, it's $11.6.
11
so how does
cents.
that compare to our
Don't worry, brother. Trump says he's going to bring those energy costs down.
actual real life earnings? Again, it's like we're losing about $1.30. So that brings me to what do we do next? And that's where, unfortunately, I think I'm probably going to be turning off that top rig for a couple reasons. If it wasn't for my $600 power bill that just hit, I would probably leave it on because losing $1 a day is not really important when I'm still yielding coins, and I do expect them to go up in 2025. But I have other miners that are more profitable, and so I just added that DG Home 1 to my mining farm, and that thing uses 700 watts, so that's like an additional $50 a month in power. I would like to capitalize on that being very profitable and maybe turn off one of my unprofitable rigs to prevent my power bill from like starting to edge towards $700, because that's just a little extreme right now. Now obviously if GPU mining turns around, then I can flip that rig back on and it'll be super awesome.
So what I had done when I was speculative mining Caspa is I had bought a lot of the Bitcoin Asics, and I was running the Bitcoin Asics to cover the cost of the power of the GPU miners, and then holding Caspa, right? So that is one thing you can consider if you have an ASIC miner that at any given time is significantly more profitable that can, make up for that cost. Then you basically have a safety net, right?
But for me, it just really doesn't make sense to mine at a loss, at least on that little inefficient rig, when I am not making a profit on it. So let's go downstairs. I'm going to turn that rig off. And then one other thing I'm going to do is on my coin generator rig here. And actually, I'm probably not.
So on his 3070s, he's mining Zealous. And he's running 280 on the core overclock. 1470 locked clock with the plus 280, and then locked mem at 5001. So those overclocks really haven't changed in a long time. Decent temperatures. That 3080 on the memory still struggling. 3080 in their memory temps. Not as bad as 3090, but yeah, he's got the same clocks locked in for his 3080. I'm not sure if that's actually correct, but
I can do this.
You guys let me know in chat.
Test, but eventually,
and the same on 3060 Ti's as well.
Eventually, I'll tell you what my plan is.
Good
so
temperatures.
I have a 3080 on this rig, and it is much more inefficient than 3060 Ti's and 3070s. Just to prove that here, let's pull up a calculator one last time. So for a 3070, we're getting 27.76 divided by 87 watts for an efficiency of 0.32. And then for our 3080, we're getting 38.33 divided by 141 for an efficiency of 0.27. In terms of percentages, that's essentially 15% less efficient than the 3070s. So what I will eventually do once my little test is complete.
Yeah, but you're running, I mean, like even if we go to hashrate.no, let's say we go there real quick and we do coins zealous, which hashrate.no is not really great at getting the best overclocks, to be honest. But 214.70 with the mem clock lock. And then what do they say on the 3080? So if they're saying the same, I guess that's where he got his clocks from. Yeah, but this is say so that's 1470 locked with no offset on the core. And setting the power limit to 320. I don't know if he set that. But let's see on efficiency where they rank here. 3080 at 0.223. Where's the 3070? There it is. Okay, at 0.255. So they're reporting efficiency better on the 3070 as well. But also I'm not sure on their overclocks either. I just don't think he minds zealous with GPUs. That's my opinion. I think you break all these down. Like you have enough to honestly, like even if you're breaking them down to like one CPU, even the rigs you have right now, like the one Warthog rig is doing better than all the other ones. Like break it down, plug in one 3080 and get a better CPU into each motherboard. Just start cranking out warp.
Complete is I will probably take one of these Samsung cards and swap it with my 3080 so that the 3 rigs that I'm continuing to run are all 3060 Ti's and 3070s, and my most inefficient cards, the 3080, will be on that test rig, the 6-card rig that I can.
I think too many people are stuck with 30 series. I mean, that's really what I'm witnessing over and over and over again. And we're already 2 generations on.
Just turn off and on as profitability changes. Now, another thing I could potentially do.
Trump coin is a winner.
3080
we'll check in a second.
Rig.
Hold on.
And see how much extra hash rate I get from a 3080 with that 5900 instead of just a 3070. And then I could take that 3070.
Oh, $34.
So maybe I'll do that in a future video, but let's go ahead and turn that. Our goodbyes for now. So it's always a sad day, but you will come back on eventually. Definitely let me know, guys, down in the comments. Do you agree with me turning this rig off for now? Let me know what you think. And with that turned off, we are now at 3,700 and let's say 80 watts. So we did save about 600 watts, so not bad. It's also crazy how quick it heats up down here. It's already 87 and that was 75 when we started, and it's been not even 20 minutes. So pretty impressive what happens once you close off that window. If you want to know how you can save power in your mining farm and hopefully prevent having to turn rigs off, check out this video. I'll see you guys next time.
Great video. Make sure you guys go give it a like and all of that, and a follow. Tell them Son of a Tech sent you. I mean, obviously I have different methodologies, but I'm also working with much different numbers. Much different numbers, right? We're playing in economies of scale, and everybody's at a different point on the scale. And I think that also will influence the way your perspective and the way that you go about, you know, looking at things. I'm not a fan of looking at daily profits. I don't think that they're very useful. right? If I look at like daily profits for a Bitcoin ASIC miner yesterday, they look crazy, and then you look today and they don't look as good, right? When do I sell my crypto that I mined for the past week? Yesterday. You know what I mean? Um, it's just a different game. And you can always expect some sort of 5 to 10% fluctuation. You can set those sell limits within whatever exchange you're utilizing and you're good to go. Oh, but thanks, Modern Mining, for that video. Make sure you guys go check it out. And links will be down in the description as well. Twilight Zone and Squid Games is the documentary. Was filmed in real time. All right, so here is the deal. We have our first submission for Rig Wars. We're going to go ahead and show you guys the videos or the photos. We're going to talk about what is in the actual rig itself. And then I'm really excited for this segment in particular. This rig was submitted by C. Gooch or Corey. And let's get into it. So Corey has named this rig Daedalus 2. And he has the Veda frame and case. The motherboard is an Asus Prime Z390 with an i3 CPU in it and 32 gigabytes of memory. He has a 240 gigabyte OS disk and 3 platinum EVGA 1600 watt power supplies. All the risers did come off Amazon. He didn't give me a specific riser name, and I couldn't get it off of the photos, but I don't know if they're 007s, 009s, whatever they are. It just depends on, I don't know at that point. The other thing that he didn't give me, which is hilarious to me, is he didn't give me the GPU details. And obviously, if you're going to submit, don't forget the GPU details. But I am very impressed with this rig because it is, as you guys can see, fully water cooled. And I love water cooling. So I think I'm going to definitely add in like an additional feedback section for people to explain a little bit more of what they got going on. But Corey here has a really cool rig. And he has water blocks on all of these GPUs in a row. And he's got it running through a big old radiator there in the top right. With basically three 360 millimeter, three 360 millimeters. So it's what, 360 by 360 rad. It's all one radiator. You can buy those big ones. They're pretty awesome. And then he's got some water, or basically some distribution plates on there as well, just to make it look cool. I mean, which obviously it does look super cool. I wish I could have gotten more details on, like I said, the GPUs and so on. I don't know why he didn't list them, so that's going to definitely take some points off for the submission. But this was one of the best looking rigs that I had, and I really wanted to show it off to you guys. It does look like EK hardware, if you're curious about that, and he used that just traditional black tubing, which is probably going to give the most longevity down there. I'm not sure exactly which pump that is. I'm assuming probably a D5 pump, and maybe you even have to run multiple, or you actually got to be stronger in the D5, doesn't it? I don't know. I need more details. So if you're watching Corey, super cool rig, definitely make sure that you send me more details. If you send me more details, we will cover it on the channel later. So this is going to be the first submission in the, and then maybe we can actually see here. No, I can't see which pump that is. But it does have, each GPU has 3 8 pins. I'm gonna guess we're talking about, a 3090 there. They also have the BIOS switches. Let's see, does it have a back? I don't see a rear plate. Let's see if we can see from this side. So I think it's only one side. I gotta wait for the video to play with y'all. So I was trying to see. Yeah, that's just a passive cooling on the back. So if those are 3090s, he's not actively cooling the memory modules on the rear, which you would probably want to do if you were going to go this far. But of course, I do know that a active backplate for a 3090 is going to increase your cost like what, $350 per card, something like that. So there you go. We'll open up voting at the end of the month for all the rigs that we go over in each individual episode. If you want to make a submission for Rig Wars, you can check out the description down below the channel. Click that, head on over, and sign up. I think that we will see, I do want to see like Warthog rigs, stuff like that, proof of useful work rigs. There's a lot changing in the industry, and it's going to be really interesting to see what everybody's doing to get the most profitability out of their hardware. I think we're going to see a shift away from i3s to, 9950Xs, and we're going to move away from traditional buy one risers to utilizing Oculinks, and all that sort of thing is going to be starting to come into fruition. As it becomes, obviously more profitable, that will have to come back as well with it. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. And Tommy T said, well, shit, that guy wins. Yeah, I did start with the best because you got to come out swinging for Inauguration Day. You know what I mean? 3070 is bad. I'm still mining on 5700 XTs. I mean, you can still mine on anything, and there's nothing wrong with mining on anything. And I wouldn't say go out and sell all of your hardware right away, right? I just think that right now, it would be foolhardy to not know that you're going to get serious efficiency improvements out of the 50 series GPUs, especially on the memory intensive algorithms with the launch of GDDR7. And if I was going to pretend that's not the case and that you should just go buy up all the 5700 XTs, well, maybe that's because I have a bunch of 5700 XTs I need to unload on you. Jokes. I'm not selling any of them, but it is what it is. That's kind of my thought process behind it, and why I'm kind of shifting my opinion over to, maybe just like a few really good GPUs, like a few really good 5090s, right? And throw them with the 9950X. They'll be super versatile. You can move them from A to B to C. You can mine something on CPU and GPU. You could set it up for a Flux node. You could set it up for proof of useful work. You could set it up for renting out to AI platforms. I mean, there's just a ton of modularity with that setup that I think more and more people are going to go down to more consolidated, high hitting rigs, right? Let's talk about GPU miner releases, software releases for the week. Obviously, this is going to change. We don't get very many miner releases these days. LOL Miner 3 weeks ago released 1.93 with significantly improving core requirements and efficiency of AMD GPUs mining Conflux, which is the Octopus algorithm. Some core-bound cards, including Vega 5700 and 6700, gain up to 30% in speed at the same set clocks over other cards like the 6900 and 7900 now allow for a significantly lower core clock to achieve peak performance and thus saving energy. He also added support to mine Cortex for the 7000 series GPUs. So some nice little upgrades on LOL Miner. BZ Miner released version 22 here recently. They had a 22.10, I think it was 22.0.0.1, but he backpedaled it. I'm not sure. I think you're in chat, right, Doc? Maybe you can let me know. But he's got the new coin added, which is Blocx. Obviously, pretty easy integration with Autolicos already being supported with Ergo. Added dual combos for Ergo and Warthog. NVIDIA only, he said for now. And Blocx plus Warthog, which is NVIDIA only for now as well. I think right now on AMD you can do, if I'm not mistaken, because I am doing it, is Ironfish and Warthog at the same time. I'm doing those on my BC250s, so you could take that into consideration. On Dynex, he fixed multiple issues. He's smarter than me. I'm going to just trust him on that one. Warthog will skip calibration if Warthog Varus hash rate target is set for all SHA devices. And Warthog hash rate should stop dropping after time. And the restart miner minutes is now a decimal number, so it can do sub-minute times, for example, 0.5 for 30 seconds. Increased GPU memory allocated for dual Warthog. And then fixed a bug fix for Chlor crashing sometimes, a bug fix for Ergo and Warthog with invalid Ergo shares, and then CPU affinity not saving to config.txt bug fix, and then basically helping it close a little bit better with Warthog and reconnections, and fixing a main loop not responding in last beta. So there you go. Check it out. If you are wanting to get on that Ergo plus Warthog goodness, which probably would be pretty profitable right now. Then we have SRB Miner version 2.7.5. When was this released? This was released last week. And they added support for dual mining auto Lycos and Walla hash, which I guess is a pretty common one to add, obviously getting Blocx on board. And that is on AMD, RDNA, RDNA2, and RDNA3, and NVIDIA GPUs. They fixed a miner crashing when running CPU plus GPU algorithm combo, and fixed epoch switching on ProgPal algorithms, and some other minor bug fixes. I think they had some more relevant from SRB Miner. I think there was B580 support added a little while ago, last year. But if you guys are paying attention to the channel, I already covered that in my B580 video. Then we have Rigel Miner, or Rigel, released 3 weeks ago. And they had a minor performance improvement on 30 and 40 series cards in Zealous hash. And it says a tip real quick for you guys: if hash rate fluctuations are too large, you can use hash rate average and then the number parameter to smooth out the readings. So you can set N to 60 to use 60-second moving average window, and the default is 10. So try that out and mess with it. There are some minor OS updates that have been going out, not too frequently, but back in December, MMP OS did do a pretty hefty upgrade to Linux kernel version 6.12. Technically, that supports the Battlemage Intel GPUs, but in my testing, I could not get it working reliably. And they updated various BIOS or drivers, for NVIDIA and AMD as well as Intel. A big note here to take into account if you guys are thinking about upgrading in MMPOS is that if you're running an Intel rig right now, as verified by New England Crypto over on Twitter as well, if you're running A750s, for example, it should be getting about 160 megahash a second on Ergo. If you update to the latest kernel version of Linux and the latest driver, it will cap your hash rate down to 40 megahash a second. This is the problem that I was running into with the Battlemage. It seems to be either a driver issue or a firmware update being pushed to those cards as well. Right now, I am still keeping my ear to the ground with New England Crypto and his status on trying to attempt to downgrade back to kernel version 6.6 or earlier, and seeing if that will help him get his A750s back to 160 megahash a second on Ergo. That being said, the changelog for Hive OS has just been updating miners whenever they update, with no significant improvements in the past few months. That's going to wrap it up for today. If you guys have any questions, now's the time to ask them. I appreciate everybody coming on in and checking it out. I guess we got to check on, some of the crazy stuff at the end of the day. I'll go watch all the rest of the Trump stuff, see what's going on there. Make sure you guys follow on all the platforms. We're on Twitch at twitch.tv/blindrun. We're on YouTube at Son of a Tech. We're on Kick at kick.com/blindrun. And we are on Rumble at Son of a Tech. I appreciate every single one of you. I've missed you guys so much. It's going to be a lot of fun getting back into this bull run. I'm super excited, super stoked. And before I go, I'm going to send you guys on over to Hawk because I believe he is now live streaming. So let's go ahead and grab him up. And we will go. He told me he was live streaming. Yeah, he is. So let's go ahead and raid Mr. Hawk Crypto Mining. Let me get this share going out. And we will be back on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. When you get over to Hawk's channel, tell him Son of a Tech sent you. And I will see you guys next Tuesday.
.gov. Oh, come on. Hold on. Wait a minute. I'll open up another browser. I got to see this again.